"Why aren't you eating dinner?" my father-in-law asked, seeing us for the first time in a long time for New Year's. He must have noticed that there was only enough food at the dining room table for 3. "It happens all the time." "What?" My father-in-law looked curiously across the table at my mother-in-law and husband. "What exactly do you mean by it happens all the time?" "A daughter-in-law who can't give her mother-in-law grandchildren would have to be a slave, wouldn't she?" My mother-in-law responded casually while chewing on the hamburger steak I had made. "That's right. Ruby is our slave. She stays in the kitchen to take care of us while we eat," my husband chimed in, echoing his mother's sentiment. As expected, he continued, "He took me to his mother's every weekend to help her with housework, even though you couldn't give her grandchildren. I'm letting you stay here. You should appreciate her and do the best you can for my mom." I didn't want to go to my in-laws' house, but I had made a commitment. Even if I refused to go, my husband would verbally force me. He knows I have a short temper and difficulty finding my words. "Mom, I brought a slave. He even greeted me that way recently." "What are you talking about?" My father-in-law seemed offended by the way my mother-in-law and husband referred to me as a slave. "That's not how a normal family with children behaves. Ruby, it's not your fault. You should stop bullying her." "What do you mean? You're the one that lives so far away, so stay out of the problem," my husband snapped back. "That's right, Dad. Don't tell me what to do. You didn't have to watch Mom lose the possibility of having grandchildren," my mother-in-law added, with a tone that sounded like they were mocking my father-in-law. I tossed the coffee beans in the grinder while listening to their conversation. My mother-in-law and husband always ordered me to bring them coffee as soon as they finished eating. I was so busy with shopping for my mother-in-law that I only had time to eat a piece of sweetbread earlier. "Come on, I'm hungry too. I'm not sure what I'm doing," I muttered to myself as if escaping from the grinder's blade. A single coffee bean fell to the floor. "My name is Ruby, and I'm a 37-year-old housewife. During the weekday lunch hours, I work part-time in the kitchen of a family restaurant. My husband and I rent an apartment. I used to work at the same local bank as my husband, but I left 3 years ago to focus on fertility treatment. We were unable to have children, so we sought medical attention and were told that the problem was on my side. After a year of treatment, I was told that it is impossible for me to get pregnant. My mother-in-law and husband changed shortly after that. Originally, we were both working and managing our own income and budgets. When I decided to leave my job, my husband took on the responsibility of covering our living expenses. He managed our savings, paid the bills for rent and insurance, and started giving me a monthly allowance. At first, we were able to live comfortably on $1,000 a month. However, when we stopped pursuing fertility treatments, my husband suggested we could save money. "Since we don't have fertility treatments anymore, you can save money," were his first words after we made the decision to stop trying to conceive. "Because of the financial burden of the treatment, I've been giving you more money for living expenses, but you don't need it anymore. You can go back to work if you want," he'd added. True to his word, he gradually reduced the amount he gave me, first $800, then $600, and eventually $500 a month. There was a time when I desperately tried to find work, but even then, my mother-in-law interfered. "Working as a full-time employee is not good for a wife," she asserted. "If you don't share the housework, she will divorce you." "So you're saying I shouldn't work?" I questioned. "Of course, if it's only part-time, then fine. You need to devote yourself to Carl and serve me. You can't even have grandchildren, so it's the least you can do," she replied. Despite enduring painful treatments, I couldn't conceive. My mother-in-law's attitude towards me changed drastically. She'd call me frequently, asking me to run errands, and I worked every weekend at their house. No matter what I did, she found fault and complained incessantly. "Why are you folding laundry like that? Why not put the corners together and fold it correctly and neatly? Do it again," she'd scold, even throwing the laundry onto the floor once. It seemed like she relished in hurting me. One evening after dinner, my father-in-law noticed my distress and offered to take me out for a drink. "I'm going out for a drink. Do you want to join me?" he asked, showing concern for my well-being. His kindness touched me deeply, and I couldn't help but cry. "I saw that, and if you want, you can vent to me," he reassured. He took me to a local bar where we sat across from each other, sharing a beer and a whiskey soda. As we ordered mixed nuts and a salad, his compassionate presence was a welcome relief from the turmoil at home. I could tell Elizabeth and Carl were being rude to you, my father-in-law began, taking a sip of beer. He listened attentively as I poured out my grievances about how his wife and son had treated me since I stopped fertility treatments. I'm blamed for not being able to have children and am forced to run errands, I confided. My husband wouldn't let me work full-time, and he's reduced my living expenses since we stopped the treatments. Now, he only gives me $500 a month. What I hate most is being called a slave, I continued. Elizabeth is not happy unless she gets her way. She wasn't like this before, but she became selfish after having Carl. She would yell at me so much that I began to dislike her, and now we pretend to be a happy couple. Do you think it's because he doesn't want to be with me? I'm jealous my father-in-law has a place to escape to, I admitted. You're not tough enough to make yourself heard, he observed. Yeah, but venting to you makes me feel better, I admitted gratefully. Good, that makes me happy, he said before we had one more beer and one more whiskey soda before leaving the restaurant. However, as soon as we arrived back home, the situation escalated. I'm back, I announced as I opened the door, only to find my mother-in-law and husband standing there. Dad, did you have a night out with my wife? My husband questioned, eyeing both of us. What? I just invited Ruby for a drink, my father-in-law clarified. What kind of relationship is this that you can go out for drinks together? My mother-in-law interjected angrily. Just like your husband said, I retorted, feeling the tension mounting. What are you thinking, Ruby? Isn't it wrong for a wife to go to a bar with a man? You can't give me grandchildren, but you still have desires, my husband accused, joining in the finger-pointing. Enough. A powerful voice echoed as if thunder had struck. My father-in-law was enraged, staring down Carl and Elizabeth. What is it with you? All I wanted was for Ruby to relax, he thundered, his anger palpable. The rage sped up my heart rate, I thought, knowing the intensity of the moment. Mild men or people can become more difficult to deal with when injured, I mused, watching Elizabeth shudder at her name being called. Was she scared of him, or did she have something to hide? You said what kind of relationship do you have with your father-in-law that you go out drinking together? My husband challenged. That's my daughter-in-law is treated like a slave, and I took her to get her mind off it. That's what happened because of Ruby, my father-in-law clarified, cutting through the tension with his explanation. I can't have grandchildren, my mother-in-law's accusation hung in the air, a barb aimed directly at me. The words ignited a desire to yell, to defend myself against her constant blame for not providing her with grandkids. How can you say that when you hate children? I wanted to retort, but I bit my tongue. Yet even in my silence, I couldn't shake the urge to challenge her unfair judgment. Well, grandchildren are different than other children, aren't they? I finally spoke up, my voice edged with frustration. That said, I don't think you wanted grandchildren enough to treat Ruby like this. You're just making an excuse to point the finger at her. My mother-in-law seemed about to respond, but then she abruptly averted her gaze. Was she tongue-tied or perhaps fearful of her husband's reaction? Carl, wait, my attention shifted to my husband. I heard you only give Ruby $500 a month for living expenses. Do you keep the rest of your salary? I probed, unable to ignore the discrepancy. No, I pay rent and insurance, he countered, but his evasive response left room for doubt. As the silence stretched, he seemed unable to conjure a convincing explanation. I came here to discuss our future. Let's get right to it, my father-in-law intervened, leading us to the living room. What do you mean discuss our future? Just sit down, my mother-in-law commanded, her tone imperious. Make some coffee first, Ruby, she ordered, her words laced with condescension, but my father-in-law's sharp rebuke cut through the air. Don't tell her what to do. I complied silently, sensing the tension crackling around me. As the coffee brewed, my father-in-law resumed speaking, his tone authoritative. I'll be retired in a few years after my current assignment ends. I won't be living with you anymore. The revelation left my husband and mother-in-law stunned. What do you mean? They both protested in unison. We've been masquerading as a couple for years, so we no longer need to live together, my father-in-law explained calmly. I'll live where I want, and you can stay here. But my mother-in-law's panic was palpable. That's fine, but I changed my mind after you accused me of being unfaithful earlier, she protested, rising from her seat. I'm selling the house, Elizabeth. I'll leave you nowhere to live. Her announcement sent shockwaves through the room. Why don't you just get a place to live? My father-in-law suggested. But her response was desperate. How am I going to do that? I can't pay the rent. Get Carl to help you, my father-in-law suggested, unaware of the financial strain. He only gives her $500 a month. I'm sure he can pay for you. But my husband's nervousness betrayed him as he struggled to respond. That's not possible, he stammered, his discomfort evident. We don't have any money. If I do that, I won't be able to pay Mom's debt. The revelation hung in the air, casting a shadow over the room. You just mentioned debt, didn't you? My father-in-law's tone turned grave. Explain. I didn't mean what I said. I said explain. My father-in-law's voice thundered through the room, his anger palpable. My mother-in-law dissolved into tears at the sound of his fury, but his rage remained unabated. Mom owes me $50,000. I'm her co-signer, my husband confessed, his expression resigned. Around the time we stopped fertility treatment, Mom made an investment. She made some money at first, but then the stock market crashed, he admitted, his voice tinged with regret. You mean you lost money in the stock market and went into debt? I interjected, incredulous at the revelation. I used family funds. At the time, we were betting on stocks that were supposed to go up, but eventually we ended up in debt. Now, I'm paying it with my salary and Mom's repaying it by working part-time at a supermarket, my husband explained, his tone heavy with the weight of their financial burden. The news caught me off guard. I had never heard anything about stocks or debt. My mother-in-law had lost a significant amount of money in the stock market and had borrowed to compensate for it when I stopped fertility treatment. She must have tried to repay the debt by investing in stocks that were expected to rise. But as they struggled with repayment, those stocks failed to yield returns. Maybe, I couldn't help but voice my thoughts. That's also when you and Carl began treating me like a slave. Ruby, what are you trying to say? Were you just taking it out on me? My mother-in-law challenged, her voice strained. The slave treatment started around the time I stopped fertility treatments. I doubt it's because she wanted a grandchild so badly. But the simple answer is that she was taking it out on me because that was satisfying. I countered, the bitterness evident in my tone. As expected, my mother-in-law remained silent, her guilt hanging heavy in the air. And Carl used the money that he took out of my monthly expenses to pay off his debts. He could save money because there's no fertility treatment. He didn't give me less money for some strange, unknown reason. He just needed the money to repay his mom's debt. I concluded, the pieces of the puzzle falling into place. You stupid idiot. Finally, my father-in-law erupted, his frustration boiling over. Even if it's family money, it's money. I worked for and saved for you, only for you to invest it in stocks without consulting me. To top it all off, you lost it all. What the hell kind of money are you spending? My father-in-law exploded, his frustration boiling over. With those words, he abruptly left the room, as if struck by a sudden realization. We all followed him, wondering what he was up to. What are you doing? My husband questioned as we trailed behind him. Show me Elizabeth's stuff. I'll check what she's buying, my father-in-law demanded, his tone sharp. Stop, Elizabeth cried, her voice tinged with panic, but her husband paid her no heed. He swung open the closet door, revealing a trove of luxury handbags. Rudy, are these bags expensive? They're all luxury items costing over $1,000, my father-in-law remarked, his tone incredulous. As he opened a small drawer in the corner of the closet, an array of accessories greeted our eyes, rings, necklaces, and earrings, some adorned with diamonds, rubies, and other precious stones. Picking up a ring, I noticed the engraving indicating it was made of 18-karat gold. Elizabeth, you bought all these expensive things without telling me? My father-in-law's disappointment was palpable. I'm sorry, but, Elizabeth began, but her husband cut her off with a look of disgust. All this spending, investing in stocks without my permission, and treating Ruby like a slave. Divorce. I want a divorce and I won't take no for an answer, he declared, his voice resolute. But how am I supposed to live? Elizabeth protested, her voice trembling. Talk to Carl. I'll sell this house and land immediately. You can sell these bags and jewelry to pay for the move, my father-in-law retorted, leaving Elizabeth speechless. My husband, no longer wearing his arrogant demeanor, nodded silently, his gaze averted. The next day, my father-in-law presented 2 sets of divorce papers. Here, Ruby. If you want to file for divorce too, he offered, handing one to me. I glanced at my husband, who sighed and turned away. Of course, I wanted a divorce, but more importantly, we wanted alimony from these people. That night, as I lay awake, I pondered the events of the past years. How long had I suffered in silence? What did I want now? I had once yearned for a child, enduring agonizing fertility treatments, only to realize I couldn't conceive. I continued my story, holding back the tears welling in my eyes. All the painful tests and treatments I endured in hopes of becoming a mother seemed futile now. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't have a baby. As I grieved, Carl informed me that since I no longer needed fertility treatment, he would reduce my living expenses. What are you saying? This is all Carl's fault, Elizabeth interjected, her voice sharp. My father-in-law's horror was palpable, and my mother-in-law fell silent, her accusations hanging in the air. She had blamed me for not giving her a grandchild and then treated me like a slave. Do you know how hard it was for me? I demanded, my frustration boiling over. Naturally, there was no response from Elizabeth or Carl. In the end, Carl's actions were driven by his need to pay off debts, while Elizabeth sought an outlet for the stress of financial losses in the stock market. I want you to reimburse me for this, I declared, my voice firm. What if I say I won't pay? Carl retorted defiantly. Sure, I'll talk to my lawyer, I shot back, my resolve unwavering. After the new year, my father-in-law officially divorced my mother-in-law. Within days of putting his house on the market, he found a buyer who intended to tear down the old house and clear the land to build a new one. Left with nowhere to stay, my mother-in-law moved into a rundown apartment, barely holding together. She now resides with my ex-husband, struggling to make ends meet while paying off their debts and alimony to me, a financial burden I'm sure weighs heavily on them. Meanwhile, I found solace in a beautiful little apartment and secured a clerical job at a security company, thanks to my father-in-law's support. He encouraged me to utilize my accounting knowledge and skills from working at a bank. I want you to be happy. If you ever need help, just tell me anything, he reassured me, his unwavering support a beacon of hope. With my father-in-law by my side, I embarked on this new chapter, determined to shine on my own. As I dressed for my first day of work, I made a promise to myself to embrace this fresh start and forge my path to happiness.
I was supposed to be saying I do in 20 minutes. Instead, I stood frozen in the bridal suite, staring at a handwritten letter that had been slipped under my door. The paper trembled in my grip, each word a fresh wound. Stephanie, I'm so sorry. I can't keep lying to you. Stefan and I have been seeing each other for months. We never meant to hurt you, but we fell in love. He's too much of a coward to tell you himself. You deserve to know before you walk down that aisle. Reagan. My best friend since college, my maid of honor, the woman who'd helped me pick out this wedding dress that suddenly felt like it was suffocating me. Stephanie, your mom's asking if you need help with the veil. The wedding coordinator's voice came through the door, bright and oblivious. My voice cracked. I need a minute. The room spun around me, 3 bouquets of white peonies on the vanity, a champagne bottle sweating in its ice bucket, my veil draped over a chair like a ghost, everything exactly as it should be, except for the bomb that had just detonated in my hands. I sank onto the tufted ottoman, the beating of my dress digging into my thighs. Outside the window, I could see guests arriving, moving across the lawn of the estate we'd spent a year saving for. My father was greeting people at the entrance, smiling, completely unaware his daughter's life was imploding. My phone buzzed. Stefan. Where are you? Your mom said you're not answering the door. My stomach lurched. Was he actually going to go through with this? Stand at the altar and lie to my face? Or was he hoping to catch me before I saw the letter? I typed back with shaking fingers. Did you fuck my maid of honor? 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then nothing. That was my answer. A knock at the door made me jump. Stephanie? Honey? My mother's voice. Everyone's getting seated. I couldn't move, couldn't speak. If I opened that door, I'd have to tell her. I'd have to say the words out loud, and then this nightmare would be real. I'll be right there, I managed, my voice sounding like it belonged to someone else. My phone buzzed again. Stefan. I can explain. Please don't do anything crazy. Let's talk. A hot tear splashed onto the screen, followed by another. Then something shifted inside me, like a match striking in a dark room. I wiped my face roughly with the back of my hand and stood up. In the mirror, I barely recognized myself. My carefully applied makeup was smudged, eyes red-rimmed and wild. I looked like a woman on the edge of something dangerous. I grabbed my phone and typed, "Where is she?" His response came immediately. "Please, Steph, let me come to you." Where is she? Getting ready with the bridesmaids in the East Wing. I moved without thinking, yanking open the door. My mother stood there, elegant in her navy dress, her expression shifting from impatience to alarm. "Stephanie, what's wrong? You're a mess!" I pushed past her, my dress rustling like angry whispers as I strode down the hallway. Guests turned to stare. Someone gasped. I didn't care. "Honey, stop!" My mother hurried after me. "Whatever it is—" "Reagan is sleeping with Stefan." The words tasted like battery acid. "Has been for months, apparently." My mother stopped dead. "What? That can't—" "It can. It is." I kept walking, my destination clear in my mind. The East Wing lounge door was closed. I could hear laughter inside. My bridesmaids, oblivious, probably taking photos and sipping champagne. I threw the door open. 4 women in sage green dresses turned toward me, smiles freezing on their faces. Reagan stood by the window, phone in hand. When she saw me, all the color drained from her face. "Everyone out," I said to the others, "except you." I pointed at Reagan. No one moved. "Now!" They scattered like startled birds, throwing confused glances between us as they fled. The door clicked shut behind them. Reagan's throat bobbed as she swallowed. "Stephanie, How long?" My voice was deadly quiet. She looked at the floor. 7 months. 7 months. While she helped me choose invitations, while she threw my bridal shower, while she hugged me and told me how lucky Stefan was. "Were you ever going to tell me, or just let me marry him?" "I told you now, didn't I?" Her voice cracked. "I couldn't let you go through with it." "How noble of you." I stepped closer. "After fucking my fiancé for over half a year, it wasn't supposed to happen." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "We tried to stop, so many times. Yet somehow, you kept falling into bed with him." "I love him," she whispered, "and he loves me." Something inside me snapped. "Then you can have him." I reached behind my neck, struggling with the buttons of my dress. With a violent tug, I ripped the delicate fabric, not caring as I heard seams pop. I stepped out of the puddle of white satin and lace, standing before her in just my slip and heels. "What are you doing?" Reagan's eyes were wide with alarm. I shoved the ruined dress into her arms. "Congratulations. The venue's paid for. The guests are here. You two deserve each other." "Stephanie, please." But I was already walking out, past the stunned faces of guests, past my father calling my name, past everything I thought my life was supposed to be. Behind me, I heard Stefan's voice. "Steph, wait." I didn't look back. I made it to the parking lot before my legs gave out. Sinking onto a decorative stone bench, I stared at the manicured grounds of the estate, the white chairs arranged in perfect rows, the flower-draped arch where I was supposed to be standing right now. The whole scene looked obscene in its perfection. "Stephanie." I didn't turn. I knew that voice too well. Stefan jogged toward me, his bow tie askew, panic etched across his face. The face I'd woken up to for 3 years, the face I'd trusted completely. "Don't," I said as he approached. "Just don't." He stopped a few feet away, hands spread. "Please, let me explain." "Explain what? How you accidentally fell into my best friend? Repeatedly? For 7 months?" My voice was eerily calm, even to my own ears. "It wasn't like that." He ran his hand through his hair, a gesture I once found endearing. Now it made me want to scream. I tried to end it so many times. I swear I did. Yet here we are. I gestured to my slip and heels. Me in my underwear, you in your wedding suit, and Reagan probably trying on my dress, his face contorted. "This isn't a joke. Do I look like I'm laughing?" I stood up, suddenly aware of how exposed I was. Guests were starting to filter out of the venue, drawn by the commotion. Whispers rippled through the crowd. "I never meant to hurt you," Stefan said, his voice dropping. "I was going to tell you—" "When?" After our honeymoon? On our anniversary? When exactly were you planning to mention you've been screwing my maid of honor? He flinched. I know you're angry. Angry doesn't begin to cover it. I laughed, a harsh sound that scraped my throat. I'm not just angry, Stefan. I'm disgusted. With you, with Reagan, but mostly with myself for being so blind. My mother pushed through the gathering crowd, my father trailing behind her. She draped her shawl around my shoulders. Come on, honey, let's get you somewhere private. I shrugged her off. No, I'm done hiding. I'm done being the last to know. Stefan stepped closer, lowering his voice. Please, Steph, not like this. Not in front of everyone. Why not? You had no problem lying to my face in front of everyone. You were ready to say vows you didn't mean, make promises you'd already broken. A flash of something. Guilt, shame, I couldn't tell, crossed his face. I did love you. I still do. That's worse, I said, my voice breaking. That makes it so much worse. Movement at the venue entrance caught my eye. Reagan stood there, still in her bridesmaid dress, watching us. Our eyes locked across the distance. For a moment, I saw a flicker of remorse on her face. Then she took a step toward Stefan, and something inside me hardened. You know what? I said, turning back to him. You two deserve each other. A liar and a traitor. Perfect match. That's not fair, he protested. Fair? I laughed again. You want to talk about fair? I spent the last year planning our life together while you were planning hookups with my best friend. I trusted both of you with everything. So don't you dare talk to me about fair. My father stepped forward, placing a protective hand on my shoulder. That's enough, Stefan. I think you should go. Stefan ignored him, his eyes fixed on me. Steph, please, can we just talk? Privately? There's nothing left to say. I turned away, but he grabbed my arm. Wait, there's something you don't know. My father shoved him back. She said that's enough. Stefan stumbled, his face flushing. This isn't just about me and Reagan. There's more to it. Like what? I demanded. He glanced around at the watching crowd, then leaned in. It's about your mother, and mine. I stared at him, uncomprehending. What are you talking about? My mother went rigid beside me. Stefan, don't. The warning in her voice made my skin prickle. I looked between them, suddenly aware of a current I couldn't understand. What about our mothers? I pressed. Stefan's expression hardened. Ask her. Ask her why Reagan hates your family so much. My mother grabbed my arm. We're leaving. Now. Mom? What is he talking about? She wouldn't meet my eyes. This isn't the time or place. When is the time? I pulled away from her. When were any of you planning to tell me the truth about anything? Stephanie, my father said gently. Let's go home. We can sort this out later. I looked back at Stefan, who stood watching me with a strange mix of defiance and regret. Behind him, Reagan had moved closer, hovering uncertainly at the edge of the scene. Fine, I said finally, but I'm not going with you. I need space. Where will you go? My mother asked, her voice tight with worry, or was it fear? I thought of the honeymoon suite at the hotel downtown. The one Stefan and I were supposed to spend tonight in. The one I'd filled with rose petals and champagne yesterday. Somewhere I can think, I said, alone. I walked toward the parking lot, aware of every eye on me, of the whispers following in my wake. My phone buzzed in my hand, a text from Terrell, one of Stefan's friends from work, who I'd only met a few times during wedding planning. I saw what happened. Need a ride? No strings, just help. I hesitated, then typed back, yes, back parking lot, and bring a jacket. As I waited, I glanced back one last time. Stefan and Reagan stood together now, their heads bent in conversation. My parents watched me, my mother's face a mask of anxiety. What was it Stefan had tried to tell me? What secret connected our families? Whatever it was, I was going to find out. And then they'd all learn what happens when you underestimate the bride. Tyrell's sleek black Audi pulled up beside me 5 minutes later. He leaned across to push open the passenger door, his expression carefully neutral. You okay? He asked as I slid in. I pulled my mother's shawl tighter around my shoulders. Define okay. He handed me a navy hoodie from the back seat. Better than standing in the parking lot in your slip. I tugged the hoodie on, grateful for its warmth and coverage. Thanks for this. I know you're Stefan's friend. Not today, I'm not. He pulled away from the curb, navigating past clusters of bewildered wedding guests. Where to? I hadn't thought that far ahead. My apartment was out. Stefan had a key. My parents' house was the last place I wanted to be right now. The Westlake Hotel, I decided. I already paid for the honeymoon suite. Might as well use it. Tyrell raised an eyebrow but didn't comment. We drove in silence for several minutes, the only sound the soft jazz playing through his speakers. Can I ask you something? I finally said. Shoot. Did you know about Stefan and Reagan? His hands tightened on the steering wheel. Not until recently. I overheard them arguing at his bachelor party last weekend. That's when I pieced it together. And you didn't think to tell me? I barely know you, Stephanie, and I thought... He sighed. I thought Stefan would do the right thing. I laughed bitterly. Guess you don't know him as well as you thought. Guess not. He glanced at me. For what it's worth, I think what they did was fucked up. That makes two of us. I stared out the window at the passing city, trying to process the surreal turn my life had taken. Stefan said something weird before I left, about my mother and his, and Reagan hating my family. Do you know anything about that? Tyrell shook his head. Sorry, Stefan never talked much about family stuff. My phone buzzed again, another text from Stefan. Please call me. This isn't just about us. You need to know the whole story. I switched my phone to silent and shoved it in the hoodie pocket. You don't have to stay at the hotel, you know, Tyrell said, as we approached downtown. My sister has a guest house she's not using. It's private. No one would look for you there. Thanks, but I need to face this mess sometime. Might as well start with the honeymoon suite. 20 minutes later, I stood in the doorway of a room designed for romance. Rose petals scattered across the king-sized bed. Champagne chilling in an ice bucket. A gift basket with massage oils and chocolate-covered strawberries. Jesus, Tyrell muttered behind me. Yeah. I stepped inside, kicking petals aside. Welcome to my personal hell. Want me to stay or call someone? I shook my head. I need to be alone. After he left, I sat on the edge of the bed, surrounded by the trappings of a celebration that would never happen. The numbness that had carried me through the past hour began to crack. Tears welled up, hot and unstoppable. I cried until my throat was raw, until my eyes burned, until I had nothing left. Then I stood up, went to the bathroom, and stared at my reflection. Mascara streaked down my cheeks, hair falling from its elaborate updo, eyes swollen and red. Enough, I told my reflection. Enough crying. I washed my face, then changed into the hotel robe. The plush white fabric felt like armor after the vulnerability of standing in my slip. My phone had accumulated a dozen missed calls and twice as many texts. I scrolled through them. My parents, bridesmaids, even my aunt from Florida. Nothing from Reagan. One more from Stefan. I'm coming to the hotel. We need to talk. A surge of panic shot through me. Of course he'd know where I was. I'd told him about the surprise honeymoon suite weeks ago. I couldn't face him. Not yet. Not here, surrounded by reminders of what should have been. I grabbed my phone and headed for the door, then stopped. Where would I go? In a hotel robe? With no money, no ID? A knock at the door made me freeze. Stephanie? It's me. Please open up. Not Stefan's voice. My mother's. I hesitated, then cracked the door. She stood alone in the hallway, clutching her purse, her face drawn with worry. Can I come in? I stepped back, letting her enter. She took in the rose petals, the champagne, her expression crumpling. Oh, honey. Don't, I warned. I've cried enough today. She nodded, perching awkwardly on the edge of the desk chair. Stefan's looking for you. I know. He wants to explain. Explain what? I crossed my arms. What did he mean about you and his mother? About Reagan hating our family? My mother's gaze dropped to her hands. It's complicated. Uncomplicate it. She sighed, suddenly looking older than her 55 years. Reagan's mother and I were friends once, best friends, like you and Reagan. We had a falling out over Stefan's father. The room seemed to tilt. What? Before I met your father, I was engaged to Antonio, Stefan's dad, but he left me for Reagan's mother, Diane. I sank onto the bed. You were engaged to Stefan's father? Yes, it was a long time ago. And you never thought to mention this? When I started dating Stefan? When we got engaged? It didn't seem relevant. It was ancient history. Ancient history that somehow led to my maid of honor sleeping with my fiancé. My voice rose. How is that not relevant? I didn't know Reagan knew, my mother said quietly. I never thought she'd… What? Take revenge? Destroy my relationship like her mother destroyed yours? My mother flinched. It wasn't that simple. Then explain it to me, I demanded. All of it. Before she could answer, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This is Tyrell. Stefan just arrived at the hotel. Thought you should know. I showed my mother the screen. We need to go, now. She nodded, standing quickly. My car's out back. We can take the service elevator. As we slipped out of the room, I realized I was still in the hotel robe. No clothes, no shoes, nothing but my phone and the key card. It didn't matter. What mattered was getting answers, and staying one step ahead of Stefan. Because now I knew this wasn't just about betrayal. It was about secrets, family secrets, and I was going to uncover every last one of them. You can't keep running from this conversation, my mother said as we pulled away from the hotel. I sat beside her in the passenger seat, still wearing nothing but the hotel robe and the key card tucked into its pocket. I'm not running from the conversation. I'm running from Stefan. I stared out the window, watching the hotel shrink in the side mirror. And don't act like you're not the queen of avoiding difficult topics. 29 years and you never mentioned you were engaged to my fiancé's father? She flinched. It wasn't relevant until my best friend slept with my fiancé as some twisted form of generational revenge. I turned to face her. How long have you known Reagan was Diane's daughter? My mother's knuckles whitened on the steering wheel. Since you introduced us at your college graduation? 6 years? I let out a disbelieving laugh. You've known for 6 years who she was and you said nothing. What was I supposed to say? By the way, honey, your new best friend is the daughter of the woman who stole my fiancé 30 years ago? Yes, exactly that. I slammed my hand against the dashboard. Instead, you smiled and hugged her and acted like everything was fine. I thought it was fine. She turned onto the highway, heading away from the city. Diane and I made our peace years ago. Antonio and I weren't meant to be. I realized that after I met your father. I never imagined Reagan would know about any of it, let alone care. Well, she clearly does. I rubbed my temples, trying to process this new reality. What happened between you and Diane? The full story, Mom. No more editing. She was quiet for so long I thought she might refuse to answer. Then she sighed. Antonio and I were engaged for 8 months. Diane was my maid of honor, just like Reagan was yours. The parallel made me wince. 2 weeks before the wedding, I found them together, in our bed. The echo of my own betrayal hung between us. They swore it was a one-time mistake, that they were drunk and it meant nothing. Her voice hardened. I believed them, forgave them. The wedding was still on until the day Antonio came to me and said he couldn't go through with it, that he'd fallen in love with Diane. And then what? I fell apart, moved back in with my parents, didn't leave the house for months. She glanced at me. Sound familiar? I'm not falling apart, I said automatically. No. A small, sad smile touched her lips. You're stronger than I was. We drove in silence for several minutes, the implications of her story settling over me like a heavy blanket. So Reagan knew all this? I finally asked. I don't know how she found out. Diane and I haven't spoken in years. She hesitated. But there's something else you should know. After Antonio left me, I did something I'm not proud of. A chill ran through me. What did you do? I was hurt, angry. I wanted to hurt them back. She swallowed hard. I told Antonio's family about Diane's past, things she'd confided in me that she never wanted anyone to know. What things? That's not my story to tell, not anymore. She shook her head. But it destroyed her relationship with his family. They never accepted her, even after she and Antonio married. I stared at my mother, this woman I thought I knew completely. You ruined her life because she stole your fiancé? I was young and heartbroken. I'm not proud of it. She turned onto a familiar road, the one leading to my childhood home. But I've always wondered if that's why Reagan did this. An eye for an eye. The pieces were starting to fit together, forming a picture I wasn't sure I wanted to see. So my relationship was collateral damage in a 30-year-old vendetta? I don't know, honey, maybe. Or maybe Reagan and Stefan really did fall for each other, and the past just made it easier for her to betray you. We pulled into my parents' driveway. The house looked exactly as it always had. The blue shutters, the hanging ferns on the porch, the wind chimes my father had hung years ago. A snapshot of normalcy that felt completely disconnected from the chaos of my life. I can't stay here, I said as she turned off the engine. Stefan knows this is the first place I'd go. Just for tonight, to regroup, get some real clothes. She touched my arm. Your father and I will help you figure this out. Inside, my father waited in the living room, pacing. When he saw me in the hotel robe, his face crumpled. Steph. He wrapped me in a hug that smelled of the cologne he'd worn my entire life. For a moment, I let myself be his little girl again, safe in his arms. Then I pulled away. I need clothes, and then I need answers. Your old room is just how you left it, he said. Take whatever you need. Upstairs, I found a pair of jeans and a sweater I'd left behind years ago. As I changed, my phone buzzed with a text from Terrell. Stefan left the hotel. Reagan was with him. They were arguing in the lobby. I texted back, "Thanks for the update. I'm at my parents' house, trying to figure out what to do next." His response came quickly. "Want backup? I know where Stefan keeps all his skeletons." I stared at the message, an idea forming. If this was about family secrets and old vendettas, then I needed to know exactly what I was dealing with. And who better to help me than someone with inside access to Stefan's life? "Yes," I typed. "Meet me tomorrow. I want to know everything." As I set my phone down, another text came through. From Reagan this time. "We need to talk. Alone. There's more to this story than you know, more than Stefan knows." I sat on my childhood bed, surrounded by remnants of a simpler time, debate trophies, prom photos, college pennants. The life I'd had before all this. What more could there possibly be? And did I even want to know? Yes, I did, because knowledge was power. And right now, I needed all the power I could get. "Tomorrow," I texted back to Reagan. "Noon. The cafe on Maple. Come alone." Whatever game they were playing, I was done being a pawn. From now on, I was making the moves. I arrived at the cafe 20 minutes early, choosing a corner table with my back to the wall. The place was busy enough to provide background noise, but not so crowded that we'd be overheard. Perfect for the conversation I was about to have. "Can I get you anything while you wait?" The server smiled, pen poised over her notepad. "Just coffee. Black." My stomach was too knotted for food. As I waited, I scrolled through the information Tyrell had texted me that morning. Details about Stefan's finances, his recent secretive meetings, even screenshots of text exchanges with Reagan. Nothing earth-shattering, but enough to confirm the timeline of their betrayal. 7 months of lies while I planned our wedding. The cafe door opened, and Reagan walked in. She'd traded her bridesmaid dress for jeans and an oversized sweater that made her look smaller, younger. Her eyes darted around until they found me. For a moment, I thought she might turn and flee. Then she squared her shoulders and approached. "Thanks for meeting me," she said, sliding into the seat across from mine. "I'm not here for pleasantries." I kept my voice level. "You said there's more to the story, so talk." She ordered a tea when the server returned, then waited until we were alone again. "I don't know where to start. How about with why? Why my fiancé? Was it just about getting back at my mother?" Reagan's eyes widened. "She told you?" About her engagement to Antonio? About your mother stealing him? Yeah, she filled me in. I leaned forward. What I don't understand is why you'd punish me for something that happened before either of us was born. It wasn't like that. She wrapped her hands around her mug. Not at first, anyway. Then what was it like? I didn't know who you were when we met in college, I swear. Her voice trembled slightly. My mom never talked about her past. It was only after I brought you home that first Thanksgiving break that she told me everything. Everything? About the affair with Antonio. About your mother's revenge. Her eyes hardened. Do you know what your mother did? The secrets she exposed? I shook my head. My mom had a child when she was 16, a baby she gave up for adoption. Reagan's voice dropped to a whisper. No one knew except your mother. They were best friends. She'd trusted her with that secret. The server returned with Reagan's tea. We sat in silence until she left. Your mother told Antonio's entire family, Reagan continued, conservative Catholic people who treated my mom like dirt for the next 30 years. They never accepted her, never stopped punishing her for a mistake she made as a teenager. I felt sick. That doesn't excuse what you did to me. No, it doesn't. She looked down. But it's why I didn't tell you who I was when I found out. I was angry at first, but then I liked you, Stephanie. You became my friend, my best friend. I decided the past didn't matter. Until you slept with Stefan. She flinched. That wasn't planned. We were working late on your wedding surprise, that video montage. Talking about you, about the wedding. One thing led to another. Spare me the details. I cut her off. You said there's more to this story than I know, than Stefan knows. What did you mean? Reagan took a deep breath. The baby my mom gave up? She found him 5 years ago. They reconnected. And it's Terrell. The world seemed to tilt beneath me. What? Terrell is my half-brother, my mother's son. She met my eyes. Stefan doesn't know. No one does, except my mom and me. And now you. I sat back, stunned. Tyrell has been helping me, giving me information about Stefan, about you. I know. A sad smile crossed her face. He texted me last night, said he was playing both sides, trying to figure out what was really going on. Why would he do that? Because he's protective of me, even though we've only known each other a few years. But he also thinks what Stefan and I did was wrong. She shrugged. He's caught in the middle. Just like I was caught in the middle of a decades-old feud I'd known nothing about. There's one more thing, Reagan said quietly. Something I found in Stefan's email last month. You went through his email? I had a feeling he was hiding something. She pulled out her phone, scrolled through it, then pushed it across the table. Look. It was an email chain between Stefan and a real estate agent in Chicago. Plans for a new job, a new apartment. Dated 3 months ago, when our wedding planning was in full swing. He was planning to leave, I whispered, before any of this happened. I confronted him about it. He said he felt trapped, that he'd proposed because it seemed like the next logical step, but he wasn't ready. Her eyes filled with tears. That's when things escalated between us. I was angry, hurt for you. We argued, then you slept together. The pieces were falling into place, and kept sleeping together. I'm not proud of it. She wiped at her eyes. The letter, I wrote it the night before the wedding, because I couldn't let you marry someone who didn't really want to be there, who was planning an escape route before you even walked down the aisle. I stared at the email, my vision blurring. Everything I thought I knew about my relationship, about my future, had been a lie. Stefan hadn't just betrayed me with Reagan. He'd been planning to abandon me anyway. Why are you telling me all this now? I asked. Because Stefan's spinning his own version of events, making it sound like this was all about family revenge. She reached for my hand, but I pulled away. And because, despite everything, you were my best friend for years. You deserve the truth. The truth? What a concept. My phone buzzed. A text from Tyrell. We need to talk. Stefan knows I've been helping you. Things are getting complicated. I looked up at Reagan, this woman I'd trusted with every secret, every insecurity, every dream. This woman who'd betrayed me in the worst possible way, yet was now offering me a truth no one else had. I have to go, I said, standing abruptly. Stephanie, wait. I need time to process all this. I grabbed my purse. And I need to talk to Tyrell. Her eyes widened. You can't tell him I told you. I don't owe you any promises. I turned to leave, then looked back. But thank you for the truth. It's more than anyone else has given me. As I walked out of the cafe, my phone buzzed again. A text from my mother. Stefan was just here looking for you. He says Reagan isn't telling you everything. Come home, please. The web of lies and secrets was growing more tangled by the hour, but one thing was becoming crystal clear. This wasn't just about a cheating fiancé anymore. This was about family, truth, and the stories we tell ourselves about the people we love. I met Tyrell at a small park 3 blocks from the cafe. He sat on a bench, hands jammed in his pockets, looking nothing like the confident man who'd rescued me from my wedding disaster. When he saw me approaching, he stood quickly. Thanks for coming, he said. Were you ever going to tell me? I asked without preamble. His expression shifted. Tell you what? That you're Reagan's half-brother, that this whole time you've been playing both sides. He exhaled slowly. She told you. Yes, along with the fact that Stefan was planning to leave me before any of this happened. I crossed my arms. So much for being on my side. I am on your side. He gestured to the bench. Can we sit, please? I hesitated, then sat, keeping distance between us. Explain. Yes, Reagan is my half-sister. I found my birth mother, our mother, 5 years ago. He stared at his hands. But that doesn't mean I condone what she and Stefan did. I've been trying to understand what's really going on, that's all. By feeding me information while reporting back to her, I haven't told her everything. He looked at me directly. I didn't tell her about the prenup, for instance. That stopped me cold. What prenup? The one Stefan had drawn up 3 weeks ago. It's heavily in his favor, protects his family's assets, limits what you'd get in a divorce. He pulled out his phone, showed me an email. I found it when I was going through his accounts for you. I stared at the document, nausea rising in my throat. He never mentioned a prenup. He was going to spring it on you right before the wedding, when you'd feel too committed to back out. Another betrayal, another lie. The hits kept coming, each one eroding what little faith I had left in my judgment. Why are you really helping me, Tyrell? What's your angle in all this? He was quiet for a moment. When I found my birth mother, I discovered this whole family I never knew I had. Reagan became important to me, but so did the truth. He sighed. When I realized what was happening between her and Stefan, I tried to stop it. Told her she was making a mistake. She wouldn't listen. So this is... what? Your attempt to make things right? Maybe. Or maybe I just hate seeing someone get screwed over by people who are supposed to love them. His voice hardened. I know what that feels like. Something in his tone made me believe him. What else haven't you told me? Stefan's been talking to your father, multiple calls over the past 2 days. My father? That made no sense. About what? I don't know, but they met this morning at your father's office. I tried to process this new information. My father and Stefan conspiring behind my back, after everything that had happened. There's more, Tyrell said quietly. Stefan knows about me, that I'm Reagan's brother. He confronted me last night, accused me of orchestrating this whole thing as some twisted family revenge plot. Are you? No. His eyes met mine, steady and clear. But he's paranoid now, convinced everyone's out to get him. He's talking about leaving town, taking Reagan with him. The thought of them running off together, after destroying my life, after all the lies, ignited something fierce inside me. Let them go, I said, surprising myself with how cold my voice sounded. They deserve each other. Is that really what you want? To just let them walk away? No. What I wanted was answers, accountability, some recognition of the pain they'd caused. My phone rang, my father. I let it go to voicemail. I need to think, I said, standing up. Figure out what to do next. Be careful, Stephanie. Stefan's desperate, and desperate people do stupid things. I nodded, turning to leave, when my phone buzzed with a text from my mother. Come home now. Your father had a heart attack. We're at Memorial Hospital. The world tilted beneath me. I have to go. My dad... I couldn't finish the sentence. What happened? Tyrell was on his feet. Heart attack. He's at Memorial. I was already moving, fumbling for my car keys. I'll drive you, Tyrell said, taking the keys from my shaking hands. You're in no condition. The drive to the hospital passed in a blur. My mind raced with terrible possibilities. Was it serious? Would he be okay? Was it the stress of everything that had happened? In the hospital waiting room, I found my mother pacing, her face drawn with worry. Mom! I rushed to her. How is he? What happened? She gripped my arms. He's stable. They're running tests. Her eyes darted to Tyrell, then back to me. He collapsed during a meeting with Stefan. Stefan was with him when it happened? The coincidence seemed too convenient. Yes. Stefan called the ambulance, stayed until I got here. She lowered her voice. Stephanie, your father was trying to get Stefan to sign annulment papers, to protect you legally. Annulment papers? Since you never went through with the ceremony, your father wanted to make sure there were no legal complications. Stefan refused to sign. She glanced around nervously. They argued. That's when your father clutched his chest and fell. Cold anger washed over me. Where is Stefan now? He left about 20 minutes ago, said he had to meet someone. She squeezed my hand. Honey, forget about him. Focus on your father. But I couldn't forget. Not now. Not when Stefan's refusal to sign those papers might have contributed to my father's condition. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This is Andres, your father's friend. I have information about Stefan you need to see. The documents your father was working on. Meet me at his office in an hour. Andres, my father's oldest friend and law partner. If he had the annulment papers. I need to go, I told my mother. Just for an hour. I'll be back. Stephanie, your father is stable. You said it yourself. I hugged her quickly. This is important, Mom. I need to finish what Dad started. As Tyrell and I headed for the exit, I spotted a familiar figure turning the corner ahead. Stefan. He hadn't left after all. He was still here, moving purposefully toward the hospital pharmacy. Change of plans, I said to Tyrell. I need to follow Stefan first. Because now I understood. This wasn't just about getting answers anymore. This was about protecting my family, and I was done letting Stefan call the shots. Stay back, I whispered to Tyrell as we followed Stefan through the hospital corridor. I don't want him to see us. Stefan moved with purpose, checking his phone every few steps. He bypassed the pharmacy and headed for the emergency exit at the end of the hall. Where is he going? Tyrell murmured. The answer came as Stefan pushed through the door into the parking garage. We hung back, watching through the small window as he approached a familiar figure waiting by a concrete pillar. Reagan. I need to hear what they're saying, I said, easing the door open just enough to slip through. We crept closer, ducking behind cars until we were close enough to hear their hushed conversation. Didn't sign, Stefan was saying. Then he collapsed. It was chaos. So what now? Reagan's voice was tense. We can't just leave. Why not? There's nothing keeping us here. He ran a hand through his hair. The annulment papers are still in his office. If we leave now... And go where, Stefan? With what money? I told you my trust fund isn't accessible for another year. She crossed her arms. And I'm not running away like we did something wrong. We did do something wrong, his voice echoed in the concrete space. We hurt Stephanie. We lied to everyone, and now her father might die because of us. He's not going to die, Reagan said. Mom called. He's stable. Your mother called. Stefan looked stunned. Why would she? Because despite everything, she still cares about Monica, about what happens to her family. Reagan sighed. This has gone too far, Stefan. We need to end it. End what? Us? The lies? The running? She touched his arm. We need to face Stephanie. Tell her everything. She already knows everything. No, she doesn't. Reagan's voice dropped. She doesn't know about the baby. The world stopped. My ears rang. Baby? What baby? Stefan's face drained of color. You told me you weren't sure. I'm sure now. 8 weeks. She placed a hand on her stomach. I took the test yesterday. I must have made a sound, a gasp, a step backward, because suddenly they both turned, spotting me between the cars. Stephanie! Stefan's voice was barely audible. I stepped forward, my whole body trembling with rage and shock. A baby? You're having his baby? Reagan's eyes filled with tears. I was going to tell you. When? After you ran away together? After you destroyed what was left of my life? My voice rose with each word. Was any of it real? Our friendship? The years we spent sharing every secret, every dream? Of course it was real, she whispered. Then how could you do this? I gestured between them. How could either of you? Stefan stepped forward. Stephanie, I know you're hurt. Hurt? I laughed, a harsh sound that scraped my throat. Hurt doesn't begin to cover what I am. I'm gutted. I'm shattered. I'm standing here listening to the two people I trusted most plan their future while my father lies in a hospital bed because of you. That's not fair, Stefan protested. I called the ambulance. I stayed until your mother arrived, after refusing to sign papers that would have given me a clean break, after lying to my face for months, after planning to leave me even before you started sleeping with my best friend. I was shaking now, years of pent-up rage finding its target. You never loved me, either of you. That's not true, Reagan said. I loved you like a sister. Sisters don't do this to each other. I stepped closer, close enough to see the fear in her eyes. You knew exactly what you were doing, both of you. This wasn't some accident, some moment of weakness. This was a choice. Every text, every lie, every time you looked me in the eye and pretended everything was fine, those were all choices. Tyrell appeared at my side. Stephanie, your father is part of this too, I cut him off. Everyone keeping secrets. Everyone thinking they know what's best for me. I turned back to Stefan and Reagan. Well, I'm done being managed, done being lied to, done being the last to know about my own life. Stefan reached for me. Please, just listen. I slapped his hand away. No, you listen. I don't want your explanations or your excuses. I want you to sign those annulment papers. I want you both out of my life. And I want you to live with what you've done, not just to me, but to yourselves. Reagan was crying openly now. Steph, don't call me that. Don't call me anything. I backed away. You're having a baby with my fiancé. Congratulations. I hope you're both very happy. I turned to leave, but Stefan grabbed my arm. Wait, there's something you don't know. About your mother. About why all this happened. I yanked free. I know enough. My mother exposed your mother's secret. Reagan took revenge by sleeping with you. The cycle of hurt continues. I looked between them. But it stops with me. I refuse to be part of it anymore. It's not that simple, Stefan insisted. Your mother didn't just expose Diane's secret. I don't care. The words exploded from me. Whatever happened between our parents is their business. What you two did to me is yours, and how I respond is mine. My phone rang. My mother. I answered immediately. Stephanie, where are you? Your father's asking for you. I'm on my way, I said, relief washing through me. If he was asking for me, he was conscious, alive. I hung up and faced Stefan one last time. My father is awake. I'm going to him now. When I come back, I expect those papers to be signed and on his desk. I stepped closer, my voice dropping. Or I swear I will make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of people you really are. As I walked away, Reagan called after me. Stephanie, please. There's more you need to know. I kept walking, Tyrell at my side. Whatever more there was, whatever secrets still lurked in the shadows of our family's pasts, I was done chasing them, done letting them control me. Because in that moment, standing in that cold parking garage, facing the ruins of my old life, I finally understood what mattered. Not revenge, not the past, but the truth. My truth. And my truth was that I deserved better than all of them. My father's hospital room was quiet, except for the steady beep of monitors. He looked smaller somehow, propped against white pillows, an IV line snaking from his arm. But his eyes were clear and alert when I entered. "There she is," he said, his voice raspy but strong. "My runaway bride." "Dad." I rushed to his side, taking his hand. "How are you feeling?" Like an elephant sat on my chest. He squeezed my fingers. "But the doctors say it was just a warning, minor damage. I'll be fine." My mother stood at the window, relief softening her face. "He needs to rest, but he insisted on seeing you first." "I need to tell her something," my father said, "before anyone else does." A chill ran through me. More secrets. Always more secrets. "What is it?" I asked. He glanced at my mother, who nodded slightly. "It's about Antonio, Stefan's father, and why I was so determined to get those annulment papers signed." I sank into the chair beside his bed. "I know about Mom and Antonio, about their engagement." "Yes, but there's more." He took a labored breath. "Antonio and I were business partners once, long before I met your mother. He cheated me out of everything, left me bankrupt." I stared at him. "What?" "When your mother and I started dating, she had no idea about my history with Antonio. By the time she told me about her past with him, we were already in love." He smiled faintly at my mother. It seemed like fate, both of us betrayed by the same man. "So, when I started dating Stefan, I was terrified history would repeat itself." His grip tightened on mine. "I should have told you, should have warned you, but I didn't want to taint your happiness with my old grudges." "That's why you pushed for the annulment papers," I said slowly. "Not just to protect me legally, but to sever any connection to Antonio's family." He nodded. "Stefan refused to sign. Said he wanted to talk to you first. That's when my chest." He gestured vaguely. My mother moved to his side. "That's enough for now. You need to rest." "No." I stood up. "I need to know everything. All of it. No more half-truths." My father sighed. "Antonio's company is in trouble. Has been for months. When Stefan announced your engagement, Antonio approached me about a merger. I refused." "A merger?" I felt sick. Was that why Stefan proposed? For a business deal? "I don't know," my father admitted. "But when I confronted him with the annulment papers, he mentioned the merger again. Said it could still happen, even without the marriage." The pieces clicked into place. Stefan's secret plans to leave, the prenup, his desperation to talk to me, even after being caught with Reagan. "It was never about me," I whispered. "Any of it." My mother touched my shoulder. "I'm so sorry, honey." I shook my head, a strange calm settling over me. "Don't be. I needed to know." I leaned down to kiss my father's forehead. "Rest now. I'll be back soon." "Where are you going?" my mother asked as I headed for the door. "To finish this, once and for all." I found Andres, my father's law partner, waiting in the hospital lobby. He handed me a manila envelope. "The annulment papers, and something else your father wanted you to have." Inside was a USB drive labeled Mitchell-Harper Merger Proposal. "Thank you." I tucked it into my purse. "I know exactly what to do with this." I drove to my father's office alone, having sent Tyrell home. This final confrontation needed to be mine alone. Stefan was waiting in the conference room, just as I'd texted him to be. No sign of Reagan. "Where's your partner in crime?" I asked, setting my purse on the table. "She went home." He looked exhausted, his perfect facade finally cracking. "I told her I needed to do this alone." "Do what exactly?" "Explain. Apologize." He pushed a document across the table, the signed annulment papers. "Give you this." I glanced at his signature, then back at him. "Why the change of heart?" Your father almost died today. Because of me. He swallowed hard. I never wanted that, any of it. But you wanted my father's company. I pulled out the USB drive. That's why you proposed, isn't it? To secure the merger your father wanted. His eyes widened. How did you... It doesn't matter. I placed the drive between us. What matters is that I finally see you clearly. All of you. The lies, the manipulation, the games. It wasn't all a lie, he said quietly. I did care for you. Just not enough to be honest. Not enough to be faithful. I picked up the annulment papers. Not enough to choose me over your father's business interests or my best friend's bed. He flinched. What can I say that would make any difference now? Nothing. I stood up. But I can say something that might make a difference to you. I leaned across the table, my voice steady. I forgive you. Confusion crossed his face. What? Not for your sake, but for mine. I forgive you for being weak, selfish, and dishonest. I forgive Reagan for betraying our friendship. I forgive my parents for hiding the truth. I straightened up. Because I refuse to carry this weight any further. I refuse to let your actions define my future. Stephanie, I'm not finished. I held up a hand. I forgive you, but I will never forget. And neither will anyone else. I pulled out my phone, showing him the screen. An email draft with the merger documents attached, addressed to every major business publication in the city. Unless you and your father withdraw the merger proposal completely, everyone will know how you tried to manipulate my family, how you used me. I smiled thinly. Your choice. His face drained of color. You wouldn't. The old Stephanie wouldn't have. The woman who needed everyone's approval, who avoided conflict at all costs. I tucked my phone away. But I'm not her anymore. I gathered the annulment papers and headed for the door. At the threshold, I paused and looked back at him. This man I'd once believed was my future. Goodbye, Stefan. I hope your child never learns what you were willing to sacrifice for a business deal. As I walked through the empty office, past the darkened cubicles and silent conference rooms, a weight lifted from my shoulders. The betrayal would always be part of my story, but it wouldn't be the whole story, not anymore. Outside, the night air was cool against my skin. I took a deep breath, filling my lungs with possibility. For the first time since finding that letter on my wedding day, I felt truly free. Not because I'd won or because I'd made them pay, but because I'd finally claimed the one thing no one could take from me, the truth of who I was and who I wanted to be. Some people spend their whole lives running from pain. I'd walked straight through mine and come out stronger on the other side.
I used to measure my worth by the number of times my family called for help. Yesenia, can you pick up Mum's prescriptions? Yesenia, I need a ride to work. Yesenia, can you watch the kids? I was their rock, their solution to every problem, their eternal safety net. Until the day I became the problem. My name is Yesenia, and I never thought I'd be sitting in a doctor's office alone, gripping the armrest so hard my knuckles turned white, hearing words that would shatter my world. The tests came back positive. It's stage 2 breast cancer. Dr. Marshall's voice faded into a distant hum as I stared at the pamphlets on his desk. The same desk where I'd sat countless times with my mother, translating her symptoms into English, or with my sister Vienna during her pregnancy scares. Now it was my turn, and the chair beside me was empty. Do you have someone we can call? Dr. Marshall asked, his pen hovering over his notepad. My family, I said automatically, reaching for my phone. They'll want to know. My hands trembled as I dialed Vienna's number first. She answered on the 4th ring, the sound of her kids screaming in the background. Yessie, I'm kind of busy right now. I'm at the doctor's, I cut in, my voice cracking. It's cancer. The background noise suddenly died. Oh my God, she whispered. Are you sure? Stage 2 breast cancer. Let me call you back, she interrupted. Isaiah just got here and Mum's waiting for us to pick her up for lunch. I'll call you later, okay? The line went dead before I could respond. That evening, they all showed up at my apartment. Mom, Vienna, and Isaiah. They brought casseroles I didn't ask for and worried looks that didn't quite reach their eyes. "We'll help however we can," Mum said, arranging the food in my fridge. "But you know I can't drive you to appointments. My arthritis." "I've got the kids," Vienna added quickly. "And work. But maybe on weekends." Isaiah shifted uncomfortably. "My new job's really demanding, sis, but I'll try to check in when I can." I nodded, smile frozen in place, already seeing the shape of things to come. Within weeks, their promises evaporated like morning dew. My calls went to voicemail. Text messages received brief, delayed responses. "Sorry, busy. Can't today. Maybe next time." The final blow came 6 weeks later. I was sitting in my hospital room after my first round of chemo, violently ill and desperately alone. Through the thin curtain, I heard familiar voices in the hallway. "I can't keep doing this," Vienna was saying. "The kids need me. Work needs me. She's becoming such a burden." "I know," Mum replied softly. "But what can we do? She's always been the strong one. She'll figure it out." "Maybe we should look into some kind of facility," Isaiah suggested. "You know, where they handle these things." I pressed my hands against my mouth, muffling the sob that threatened to escape. These were the same people I'd dropped everything for countless times. The same sister whose children I'd watched while she pursued her career. The same brother whose rent I'd covered during his finding himself phase. The same mother whose medical appointments I'd never missed. A nurse found me an hour later, still crying. Her name tag read Sarah, and she had kind eyes that crinkled at the corners. "Honey," she said, checking my IV, "sometimes family isn't who you're born to, but who shows up when you need them most." I wiped my eyes with the scratchy hospital tissue. "I don't have anyone else," she smiled, pressing a flyer into my hand. "There's a support group that meets here every Tuesday. Cancer survivors and fighters supporting each other. Give it a try." I stared at the paper, my vision blurring. "I don't know. What's the worst that could happen?" She squeezed my shoulder. "You're already alone, aren't you?" That night, I lay in my empty apartment, surrounded by the evidence of my family's gradual disappearance. Unanswered messages, cancelled plans, hollow promises. The flyer sat on my nightstand, a beacon in the darkness. As I drifted off to sleep, my sister's words echoed in my head. Such a burden. I'd spent my whole life being the family anchor, and now they'd cut me loose to drown. But maybe, just maybe, that nurse was right. Maybe it was time to find out who would actually show up when I needed them most. Little did I know, that support group flyer would become my lifeline, and the beginning of something much bigger than my family could ever imagine. The hospital basement wasn't exactly welcoming. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as I followed the hand-drawn signs to Room B14 Cancer Support Group. My steps echoed in the empty corridor, each one screaming at me to turn back. "First time?" A warm voice startled me. A tall man with kind eyes and a shaved head stood by the door, holding a stack of paper cups. "I'm Aaron. I lead this little band of warriors." "I'm Yesenia," I managed, tugging self-consciously at my headscarf. "The nurse upstairs, Sarah. She suggested I come." "Ah, Sarah, our best recruiter." He grinned, gesturing toward the room. "Come on in. We're just getting started." The circle of chairs wasn't full. Maybe 10 people total. A young woman with vibrant tattoos covering her arms caught my eye and waved enthusiastically. "New blood," she called out. "Come sit by me. I'm Callie." I settled into the metal folding chair, clutching my purse like a shield. Aaron took his place in the circle, balancing a coffee pot on his knee. "Welcome, everyone," he began. "We have a new friend today. Yesenia, would you like to share?" My throat tightened. I don't... "Hey, no pressure," Callie interrupted, shooting Aaron a look. When I first came here, I couldn't say a word. Just cried for like 3 meetings straight. A few knowing chuckles rippled through the group. Someone passed me a tissue box. Stage 2 breast cancer, I finally said. Diagnosed 6 weeks ago. Support system? Aaron asked gently. I stared at my hands. Not anymore. Family? Bailed? Callie's voice was sharp. When I nodded, she snorted. Welcome to the club, honey. My husband left 2 weeks after my diagnosis. Said he couldn't handle it. My kids stopped calling, an elderly woman added. Too busy with their lives to deal with a sick mother. That's why we're here, Aaron said, pouring coffee into cups. Sometimes the family you choose is stronger than the family you're born into. The meeting continued, stories flowing freely. Tales of triumph, of fear, of rage, of hope. No platitudes, no toxic positivity, just raw, honest truth. Afterward, Callie caught up with me in the parking lot. Hey, wait up. Give me your phone. What? Your phone. You're not doing this alone anymore. She grabbed my iPhone, typing quickly. There. Now you have my number. Text me anytime. Day, night, whatever. We cancer bitches gotta stick together. I smiled, my first genuine smile in weeks. Thanks. First chemo next week? Second, actually. Tuesday at 9. Perfect, I'll be there. I'm getting my infusion at 10 anyway. She saw my surprise and shrugged. Nobody should sit through that alone. True to her word, Callie showed up on Tuesday, armed with magazines, snacks, and a portable DVD player. Trust me, hospital TV sucks. As the drugs dripped into my veins, we watched bad reality shows and shared stories. She told me about her ex-husband, how he'd packed his bags while she was still in the hospital. But look at me now, she said, flexing her tattooed arm. Each new piece of ink marks another milestone. This phoenix? That's from when my hair grew back. The lotus? First clean scan. You make it sound so manageable. It's not. It's hell. But you know what's worse? Letting those who abandoned us win. She leaned forward, eyes intense. They expect us to disappear, become invisible, to be their burden and fade away. Screw that. The nurse came to check my vitals, frowning at my elevated heart rate. Everything okay? Never better, I said and meant it. That night, my phone buzzed with a group text. Callie had added me to something called Cancer Warriors Squad. Messages poured in, welcome notes, emoji hearts, offers of help. Need a ride to appointments. I'm free most mornings. Maria. Got some headscarves I'm not using anymore? Different colours? Jen. Movie night this Saturday at my place. No sad films allowed. Callie. I was typing a response when another text came through. From Vienna. Hey, sis. Sorry I've been busy. How are you? For the first time, I didn't immediately reply. Instead, I turned back to the group chat, where Callie was organising a schedule for chemo buddy sessions. Count me in, I typed, and I'm never becoming invisible again. The responses were immediate. Hell yeah! That's our girl! Aida, welcome to the family. I set my phone down, looking around my apartment. The space that had felt so empty now seemed full of possibility. My old family might have walked away, but something told me this new one wasn't going anywhere. And neither was I. You did what? Callie's voice echoed through my kitchen as she rummaged through my cabinets, replacing my processed foods with organic alternatives. 2 months had passed since my first support group meeting, and she'd appointed herself my unofficial health guru. I blocked their numbers, I repeated, watching her work. All of them. Mom, Vienna, Isaiah. About damn time. She set down a bag of quinoa with unnecessary force. How long has it been since any of them actually showed up? 6 weeks? Mom sent a thinking of you text last month. Vienna keeps posting on Facebook about how hard it is having a sick sister. Callie rolled her eyes. Yeah, must be really tough for her, posting sympathy bait while she's at brunch. The doorbell rang, interrupting our conversation. Aaron stood there with Maria and 2 other women from the group, all carrying containers of food. Meal train delivery, Maria announced, pushing past me into the kitchen. We've got enough to fill your freezer for the next 2 weeks. You guys didn't have to? Shut up and accept the love, Callie called from the kitchen. That's rule number 1 of Cancer Warriors Squad. As they unpacked the food, I noticed Aaron hanging back, watching with a slight smile. Penny, for your thoughts? I asked, or just remembering when Callie first joined the group, he said. Angry, scared, wouldn't let anyone help her. Now look. I followed his gaze to where Callie was demonstrating proper food storage techniques to Maria, her tattoos catching the afternoon light. She told me her story yesterday, I said. About her ex-husband, her old friends? Aaron nodded. She lost everything, or so she thought. Then she built something better. He turned to me. That's what you're doing too, you know. Before I could respond, Callie clapped her hands. Squad meeting! Living room now! We gathered on my mismatched furniture, a collection of pieces donated by group members when they learned I'd sold most of mine to cover medical bills. Okay, so I had this idea, Callie began, practically vibrating with excitement. You know how the hospital's annual charity gala is coming up? Maria groaned. That stuffy thing where rich people pretend to care? Exactly. But what if we did our own event? Something real, something that shows what cancer actually looks like. Not just the sad commercials and pink ribbons, but the people who show up and the people who don't. The room went quiet. Aaron leaned forward. What are you thinking? A charity event, but honest. Stories from survivors, fighters, families who stepped up, resources for people going through it alone. Callie turned to me. Yesenia could be our keynote speaker. Me? I squeaked. I'm not even done with treatment. That's exactly why it should be you. You're living it right now. The good, the bad, the people who disappeared, and the family you found instead. And your old family? Maria asked quietly. Would you invite them? The question hung in the air. I thought about my mother's excuses. Vienna's performative social media posts. Isaiah's complete silence. Yes, I said finally. Let them see what they walked away from. Let them see who showed up instead. Callie whooped, jumping up to hug me. That's my girl. Aaron, you know people at the hospital, right? Can you help us get space? I might know someone in event planning, he said, pulling out his phone. Let me make a call. As the group buzzed with excitement, planning and delegating tasks, I felt something shift inside me. This wasn't just about survival anymore. This was about transformation. What should we call it? Maria asked. Never invisible, I said without hesitation. Because that's what they wanted us to be, isn't it? Invisible burdens they could ignore? Callie's eyes welled up. Damn right. And look at us now. We're practically glowing. That evening, after everyone left, I sat in my living room, surrounded by evidence of their care. Organised cabinets, full freezer, event plans scribbled on notepads. My phone buzzed with a Facebook notification. Vienna had posted another status about her brave sister's battle. I opened my laptop and began typing. Dear Vienna, Mom, and Isaiah, you're invited to an event I'm organising. I attached the preliminary flyer Callie had designed, complete with my name listed as keynote speaker. Then I added, I hope you can make it. I have some things to say about family, about showing up, and about becoming visible again. Love, Yesenia. I hit send before I could second-guess myself. Then I opened the group chat. Email sent. No turning back now. The responses flooded in immediately. We've got you. They won't know what hit them. Time to shine, warrior. For the first time since my diagnosis, I felt truly powerful. They tried to make me disappear, but instead I was about to become impossible to ignore. The venue's too small, Meki said, pacing the hospital conference room. As the event director, he'd taken our modest proposal and transformed it into something bigger than any of us had imagined. We've got twice the RSVPs we expected. How many? I asked, looking up from my draft speech. 300 and counting. Local news wants to cover it. 2 cancer research foundations called this morning about sponsorship. He ran a hand through his close-cropped hair. Yesenia, this isn't just an event anymore. It's becoming a movement. Callie burst through the door, waving her phone. You're trending. I'm what? Your story. Someone shared it on Twitter, and it's exploding. Look. She thrust her phone at me. My email to my family had somehow leaked online, along with Vienna's social media posts about her brave sister. The contrast between her words and actions had struck a nerve. My family abandoned me during cancer is trending, Meki read over my shoulder. The responses... I scrolled through them, my hand shaking. This happened to me too. Never invisible. Where can I donate to this event? Someone, please, tell me when and where this is happening. Oh God, I whispered. What have we started? Something necessary, Aaron said from the doorway. He entered with a stack of papers. The hospital board just approved moving the event to the main auditorium. They're waiving all fees. My phone buzzed. A text from Vienna. Just saw your email and the Twitter trend. What are you trying to prove? Before I could respond, another message appeared from Mum. Why are you doing this to us? We're your family. Don't answer them, Callie said firmly, taking my phone. Save it for the speech. Meki cleared his throat. Speaking of the speech, we should work on that. The media attention means every word will matter. We spent the next 3 hours crafting my message. No accusations, no bitterness, just truth. Raw, unfiltered truth about abandonment, about finding strength in unexpected places, about redefining family. Read that last part again, Meki said, his eyes intense. I picked up the paper. Family isn't measured by blood or birth certificates. It's measured by who shows up when the world goes dark. It's measured by who stays when staying gets hard. Sometimes, the family you find loves you better than the family you were given. That's it, he whispered. That's the heart of everything. A knock at the door interrupted us. A reporter from the local news station stood there with a cameraman. We heard about what you're doing, she said. Would you be willing to do an interview? I looked at my support squad. Callie nodded encouragingly. Aaron gave a thumbs up, and Meki stepped forward with his event planner smile. Give us 10 minutes to set up, he said professionally. During those 10 minutes, my phone exploded with notifications. Isaiah had finally broken his silence with a long text about how I was tearing the family apart. 3 of my aunts called to ask why I was airing dirty laundry. Vienna posted another status about forgiveness and understanding. You don't have to do this, Aaron said quietly as the camera crew set up. We can stop now. I thought about all the others like me, sitting alone in hospital rooms, checking phones that never ring, watching families walk away. Yes, I do, I replied. Not just for me anymore. The interview was surprisingly easy. The words flowed naturally as I described the isolation, the support group, the unexpected family I'd found. I didn't bash my biological family. I simply told the truth about their choices and the consequences. And what do you hope people take away from your event? The reporter asked. That invisible doesn't mean gone, that abandoned doesn't mean broken, that sometimes the best families are the ones we build ourselves. After they left, Meki showed me the event's registration page on his laptop. The numbers were still climbing. "We're going to need more chairs," he said, but his smile was proud. "And Yesenia, you're going to need a better outfit than that hospital gown." "Shopping trip," Callie declared. "Cancer Warriors Squad, assemble." As they discussed outfit options and camera angles, my phone buzzed one more time. A text from my mother. "Please don't do this. We can work this out privately." I showed it to Callie, who snorted. Little late for privacy now. They had their chance to show up. Now they get to watch you shine. Looking around the room at my new family, Callie with her fierce loyalty, Aaron with his quiet strength, Meki with his unwavering support, I realized something. I wasn't just planning an event anymore. I was leading a revolution of the forgotten, the abandoned, the ones who refused to disappear. And we were just getting started. The coffee shop was neutral territory, public enough to feel safe, private enough for the conversation I'd been dreading. Vienna sat across from me, stirring her latte with mechanical precision, her designer purse positioned like a barrier between us. "You look," she paused, searching for words, "different." "Cancer does that," I replied, touching my headscarf, a vibrant blue one Callie had given me. "Among other things. Mom's upset, you know. She can barely sleep. Funny how my cancer didn't keep her up, but this does." Vienna flinched. "That's not fair. We were all dealing with it the best we could." By not dealing with it at all. A text lit up my phone. "Callie, you okay? Need backup? I'm 5 minutes away." I smiled, typing back. "I'm good. Standing my ground." "Who's that?" Vienna asked, peering at my phone. "One of your new friends?" "Family," I corrected. "The ones who showed up." "We're your family, Yesenia. Your real family." The barista called out another order, filling the awkward silence between us. I watched Vienna's perfectly manicured fingers drum against her cup. "Why are you really here?" I asked finally. "The event," she said. "It's all over social media. People from church are asking questions. Mum's friends are calling. Even Isaiah's boss saw the interview." "Embarrassing for you, I imagine." "It's not about embarrassment," she leaned forward. "It's about privacy. About handling things within the family." "Privacy?" I laughed, drawing looks from nearby tables. "Like your Facebook posts about your brave sister's battle while you ignored my calls? That kind of privacy?" "I was trying to show support. You were performing support. There's a difference." I pulled out my phone, scrolling through screenshots. Let's see. March 15th. Watching my sister fight this terrible disease is breaking my heart. That was the day I begged you to drive me to chemo. You said you were too busy. I had the kids. April 3rd. Family is everything during times like these. That was when Mum told the hospital staff not to call her anymore because it was too stressful. Stop it, Vienna whispered. May 1st. Sometimes the strongest people face the hardest battles. Posted right after Isaiah suggested putting me in a facility because I was too much to handle. What do you want from us? Her voice cracked. Nothing anymore. That's the point. I stood up, gathering my things. The event isn't about exposing you. It's about showing others like me that disappearing isn't the only option. We'll be there, she said quickly. All of us. We'll show everyone we support you. No, I replied. You'll show everyone what you lost. My phone buzzed again. Meki this time. Emergency event meeting. Big sponsors want to talk. I have to go, I told Vienna. My family needs me. The walk to my car felt longer than usual. When I reached it, I found Callie leaning against the driver's side door. Couldn't stay away, could you? I asked. Nope. How'd it go? About what you'd expect. They're coming to the event? Good. Her smile was fierce. Let them see what real support looks like. At the hospital, Meki and Aaron were waiting with news that made my head spin. 3 major cancer research foundations wanted to partner with us. A national morning show wanted to feature our story. "This is bigger than we imagined," Aaron said, spreading papers across the conference table. "Your story touched something in people. The abandoned, the forgotten, they're all coming forward. We've got stories pouring in," Meki added. "People wanting to share their experiences, offering to help, asking how they can start their own support networks." My phone buzzed yet again. Mum this time. "Please reconsider what you're doing. We can fix this." Callie read the message over my shoulder and snorted. "Little late for fixing, isn't it?" "Way too late," I agreed, putting my phone away. "So what's next?" "Next," Meki said, pulling up a presentation on his laptop. "We show them exactly what they walked away from. Not just you, all of us, every person who was told they were too much, too difficult, too sick to love." "The Warrior Squad goes national," Callie added with a grin. Looking at their eager faces. My real family, my chosen family. I felt stronger than I had in months. The cancer was still there, still fighting, but so was I. And I wasn't fighting alone anymore. "Let's do it," I said. "Let's show them all what invisible looks like in the spotlight." The room erupted in cheers and hugs. As we began planning the expanded event, I realized Vienna was right about one thing. I was different now. I was visible, I was powerful, and I was loved. Just not by the people who should have loved me first. The hospital auditorium hummed with energy. Hundreds of people filled the seats, many wearing blue scarves like mine. Our symbol had caught on faster than we'd expected. Camera crews lined the back wall, and volunteers wearing never invisible t-shirts guided latecomers to their seats. 5 minutes, Meki called from backstage, where I paced in my new blue dress. Yesenia, stop walking. You'll wear out your shoes before you even get out there. They're here, Callie announced, peeking through the curtain. Front row, looking uncomfortable as hell. I didn't need to ask who she meant. How do they look? Like people who just realised they backed the wrong horse. Your mum keeps fixing her hair, Vienna's on her phone, and Isaiah looks like he'd rather be anywhere else. Aaron appeared with a bottle of water. Remember what we practiced. You're not speaking to them. You're speaking to everyone else in that room who knows what it feels like. Speaking of which, Meki interrupted, you need to see this. He led me to a side curtain and gestured to the audience. Mixed among the crowd were dozens of people holding up small signs. Abandoned by husband of 20 years. My children stopped calling. Parents said I was too much trouble. They're all here for you, Callie whispered. For us. The stage lights dimmed, and Meki gave me a gentle push. That's your cue. Show them what visible looks like. My heels clicked against the stage as I approached the podium. The spotlight felt warm on my face, and for a moment, everything went quiet. Then I saw them. My mother's forced smile, Vienna's nervous fidgeting, Isaiah's averted eyes. My name is Yesenia, I began, my voice steady. 6 months ago, I was diagnosed with cancer, but that's not really what this story is about. The audience leaned forward as I continued. This is a story about what happens when the people who should love you most decide you're too difficult to love. It's about what happens when family becomes a performance rather than a presence. I saw Vienna's phone drop into her lap, but mostly, it's a story about what happens when you refuse to disappear. I gestured to the side stage, where Callie and the others waited. When I was at my lowest, strangers became family. When my blood relatives stepped back, warriors stepped forward. The audience erupted in applause as my support group members joined me on stage, Callie with her vibrant tattoos, Aaron with his gentle smile, Maria with her warm eyes, and dozens more. Look around this room, I continued. Every person here has a story about abandonment, about being told they're too much, too sick, too needy, but we're done being invisible. More applause, more people standing, signs raised higher. To those who walked away, our parents, children, spouses, friends, we want you to see what you left behind. We're not bitter. We're not broken. We built something better. My mother's hand covered her mouth. Isaiah shifted in his seat. We created a family that shows up, that stays, that understands love isn't convenient. It's a choice you make every single day, especially on the hard days. Callie stepped forward, taking my hand. One by one, others joined us, forming a line across the stage. This is what invisible looks like, I said, gesturing to our group. This is what happens when you leave people behind. We find each other. We lift each other up. We shine. The audience rose in a standing ovation. Through tears, I saw Vienna trying to clap while wiping her eyes. Mom sat frozen, staring at the stage. Isaiah looked like he wanted to sink through the floor. But it wasn't about them anymore. After the speech, people lined up to share their stories, to hug, to join our growing network. News crews interviewed survivors and supporters. Foundation representatives discussed expanding the program nationwide. You did it, Meki said, appearing at my side with a tissue. You actually did it. We did it, I corrected, watching Callie organise a group photo of survivors. All of us. Through the crowd, I saw my family making their way toward me. But before they could reach me, I was surrounded by my real family. The ones who chose me, who showed up, who stayed. Ready to face them? Aaron asked quietly. I looked at the warriors around me, my true family, my chosen strength, and smiled. I already have. Everything else is just details. As my mother called my name across the crowded room, I turned instead to a young woman holding a sign that read, "Just diagnosed, feeling alone." "Come meet my family," I said, taking her hand. "Trust me, you'll never be invisible again." Behind me, I heard my mother's voice fade into the crowd, drowned out by the sound of something much more powerful, the voice of those who refused to disappear. "Yesenia, please." My mother's voice cut through the post-event chaos. She stood at the edge of our group, looking smaller than I remembered. "We need to talk." Callie stepped closer to me, her protective instinct kicking in, but I touched her arm. "It's okay. I've got this." I followed my mother to a quiet corner of the auditorium. Vienna and Isaiah joined us, forming a familiar semicircle that once meant family, but now felt like a tribunal. "That speech," Mum began, wringing her hands. "Those things you said were true," I finished on every word. "We didn't mean to," Vienna started. "To what?" I interrupted. "To skip every chemotherapy appointment? To ignore my calls? To discuss putting me in a facility when you thought I couldn't hear?" Isaiah flinched. "We were scared. So was I." The force of my voice made them step back. I was terrified. I needed my family. Instead, I got Facebook posts and empty promises. "We're here now," Mum pleaded, "because it's convenient, because it's public, because people might judge you if you're not." I gestured to the crowd behind me. "Look at them. Really look. Every person here knows what it feels like to be abandoned by the people who should have loved them most." Vienna's eyes filled with tears. "We do love you." Love isn't a feeling, Vienna. It's not a social media post or a greeting card. It's showing up, it's staying, it's choosing someone even when it's hard. Like they did. Isaiah nodded toward my support group, who were pretending not to watch from a distance. Exactly like they did. Strangers who became family because my family became strangers. Mom reached for my hand, but I stepped back. "What do you want from us?" "Nothing," I said softly. "That's what you don't understand. I don't want anything from you anymore. I'm not angry. I'm not bitter. I'm just free. Free, Vienna's voice cracked. Free from waiting for your calls. Free from making excuses for your absence. Free from believing I needed you to be whole. A commotion near the stage drew our attention. A young woman was sharing her story, her voice carrying across the room. My husband left me 3 months into treatment, said he didn't sign up for this. Today is the first day I don't feel ashamed of being sick. That's what this is about, I told my family. Not revenge, not punishment. It's about showing people they don't have to disappear just because someone decided they were too difficult to love. But we're still your family, Mum insisted. No, I said gently. You're my relatives. There's a difference. Family are the people who show up when showing up matters. As if on cue, Callie appeared at my side. Sorry to interrupt, but the news crew needs you for the final segment. They want to film the support group together. I turned back to my mother, sister, and brother. They stood frozen, a portrait of too little, too late. I have to go, I said. My family needs me. Yesenia, wait, Vienna called out. Can't we fix this? I paused. Some things, once broken, don't get fixed. They get rebuilt into something stronger. Walking away from them felt like setting down a heavy weight I'd carried for too long. Callie squeezed my hand as we joined the others. You okay? She whispered. Better than okay, I replied, watching my biological family retreat through the crowd. I'm free. The news crew positioned us near the Never Invisible banner. Aaron stood at the centre, surrounded by survivors, supporters, warriors. As the cameras rolled, he spoke about the future. Support networks spreading nationwide, resources for the abandoned, community for the isolated. And it all started with one woman, he said, pulling me forward, who refused to disappear. The crew caught it all. The hugs, the tears, the promises to stay connected. They filmed as we exchanged phone numbers with new members, as Callie showed off her latest tattoo, Never Invisible in flowing script, as Meki discussed plans for the next event. Later, as we cleaned up the auditorium, I found a note on the podium. I recognised my mother's handwriting. We're sorry, we were wrong. If you ever want to try again. Callie read it over my shoulder. What are you going to do? I folded the note and slipped it into my pocket. Keep moving forward. They had their chance to be my family. Now it's time to be family to someone else who needs it. As if to punctuate my words, a small group of newly diagnosed patients approached, looking nervous but hopeful. Is it true, one asked, that we can join your family? I opened my arms, remembering my first support group meeting, remembering what it felt like to find home in unexpected places. Welcome to the Warriors, I said. You're visible now, and you always will be. The hospital corridor felt different now. No more echoing loneliness, no more cold, fluorescent despair. I walked toward Dr. Marshall's office with Callie on one side and Aaron on the other, their presence steady and sure. Last scan, Callie said, squeezing my hand. You've got this. The waiting room was filled with familiar faces, support group members who'd shown up just to sit with us. Maria brought coffee. Meki took a break from planning our next event to be here. Even Sarah, the nurse who'd first handed me that life-changing support group flyer, stopped by to check in. Yesenia, Dr. Marshall called, his smile warm. Ready? Inside his office, he pulled up my scans on the screen. The same screen where I'd first seen the cancer that changed everything. I held my breath. Clear, he said simply. Complete remission. The cheers from outside his office told me everyone had been eavesdropping. The door burst open, and suddenly I was surrounded by hugs, tears, and laughter. Party at my place, Callie announced. Everyone's coming. Wait, I said, pulling out my phone. There's something I need to do first. I opened my messages and typed, Mum, Vienna, Isaiah, I'm cancer-free. Thank you for showing me exactly what I didn't need in my life. I forgive you not for you, but for me. I hope you've learned something about love and presence. If not, that's okay too. I found my real family. Sent it? Aaron asked. I nodded, putting my phone away. Now, let's celebrate. Callie's apartment was packed. Someone had already hung a cancer-free queen banner, and the walls were covered with photos from our events and meetings. In one corner, a young woman who just started treatment was getting advice from a survivor. In another, Makey was showing off plans for our expanding support network. Look what came today, Aaron said, handing me a thick envelope. Inside was official documentation. Never Invisible was now a registered non-profit organisation. We had funding, sponsors, and chapters starting in 3 other cities. From one support group in a hospital basement, I marvelled, to this. Speaking of which, Callie interrupted, climbing onto a chair and clinking her glass. Everyone, shut up! Our warrior queen has an announcement. All eyes turned to me. These faces, some still bearing the marks of treatment, others showing the scars of survival, all shining with love and strength, had become more than friends. They were the family I chose, the ones who chose me back. When I first walked into that basement support group, I began, I thought I was alone. My biological family had decided I was too much work, too much trouble, too much everything. But you showed me that being too much just means you haven't found the people who can handle all of you. Cheers and applause filled the room. So, today, standing here cancer-free, I'm not just celebrating survival, I'm celebrating discovery. I discovered that family isn't about blood, it's about choice. Every day we choose each other. Every day we show up. Every day we prove that invisible isn't our story. Preach! Someone shouted. Starting next week, I'm becoming a full-time advocate for Never Invisible. We're going to find every person who's been abandoned during illness, every fighter who's been told they're too much, every warrior who needs a family. And we're going to show them what real support looks like. The room erupted. Callie jumped down from her chair to hug me, her latest tattoo, a phoenix rising, visible on her arm. My phone buzzed. A text from Vienna. We miss you. We're sorry. Can we try again? I showed it to Callie, who snorted. What are you going to say? Looking around the room at my chosen family, at the love that filled every corner, at the strength that flowed between us, I knew my answer. Nothing, I said, putting my phone away. I'm done looking backward. There are too many people ahead who need us. As if to prove my point, a new member raised her hand. I got diagnosed yesterday. My husband left this morning. I don't know what to do. Come here, I said, opening my arms. The room shifted to include her, dozens of warriors ready to support another fighter. Welcome to the family, we said in unison. And in that moment, surrounded by the people who chose to love me when love mattered most, I realized something profound. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you leads you to the best people you'll ever know. We were never invisible. We just needed to find the right eyes to see us. And now we shine.
The sound of laughter and clinking champagne glasses fills my sister's sunlit living room as I rest my hand on my swollen belly, soaking in what should be the happiest day of my life. Pink and blue balloons dance against the ceiling while my best friend Paige arranges pristine white roses in a crystal vase, shooting me one of her trademark winks. Only you would have flowers color-coordinated with your dress at your own baby shower, she teases. I smooth the fabric of my cream-colored maternity dress, the one Beau said made me look radiant last week. What can I say? Some of us like everything just so. The front door opens and my heart does that familiar flutter when my husband walks in. Even after 3 years of marriage, Beau still takes my breath away, all 6 feet of corporate swagger in his tailored suit. But something's off in his expression, a tightness around his eyes I've never seen before. Jillian. His voice carries across the room, silencing conversations mid-sentence. We need to talk. The way he says my name sends ice through my veins. Behind him, a woman I've never seen before steps into view. She's wearing a fitted red dress that hugs every curve, and her hand rests possessively on Beau's arm. My sister Serenity appears at my side, her fingers digging into my shoulder. What's going on? The room has gone deadly quiet. I can hear my own heartbeat thundering in my ears as Beau walks toward me, his expensive shoes clicking against the hardwood. The woman in red follows, her stilettos leaving tiny divots in my sister's pristine floors. I'm sorry it has to be this way, Beau says, but his voice holds no warmth. Ruby and I have been seeing each other for 8 months. She's pregnant too. 12 weeks. The words hit me like physical blows. My vision blurs at the edges as I struggle to process what he's saying. The baby inside me kicks, as if sensing my distress. You're lying, I whisper, but even as the words leave my mouth, I see the truth written across his face. All those late nights at the office, the mysterious text he'd shield from view, the sudden business trips. I've already moved my things out, he continues, pulling an envelope from his jacket. These are divorce papers. My lawyer will be in touch about custody arrangements once the babies are born. The envelope lands in my lap like a bomb. Around me, guests are frozen in various states of shock. My mother's hand pressed against her mouth, Paige's face flushed with fury, Serenity trembling beside me. Ruby, this woman wearing my husband's ring on her finger, has the audacity to smile. We thought it was best to be honest, given the circumstances. No point dragging things out. My fingers close around the envelope, crumpling its crisp edges. Honest? My voice comes out stronger than I expect. You call ambushing me at my baby shower honest? It's better this way, Beau says flatly. Clean break, no messy scenes. A laugh bubbles up from my chest, sharp and bitter as broken glass. No messy scenes? You're destroying my life in front of everyone I love, and you're worried about scenes? He has the grace to look uncomfortable, but Ruby just tosses her perfectly styled hair. Come on, baby. We've said what we came to say. Baby, the pet name I whispered against his skin countless nights. The endearment he'd murmur while stroking my growing belly. All of it. Lies. Wait. I struggle to stand, my 7 months pregnant body betraying me. Serenity steadies me as I face the man I thought would grow old with me. Why like this? Why here? Beau's mask slips for just a moment, revealing something ugly underneath. Because you always have to have everything perfect, don't you, Jillian? Your perfect house, your perfect marriage, your perfect little life. I wanted you to see that nothing's perfect. Not anymore. He turns and walks out, Ruby clinging to his arm like a trophy. The door closes behind them with a quiet click that echoes through the silent room. I stand there, divorce papers crushed in my fist, as my carefully constructed world crumbles around me. Someone sobs. Maybe my mother, maybe me. I can't tell anymore. Paige appears in front of me, her face fierce with protective rage. I'll kill him. I swear to God, but I'm not listening. My eyes are fixed on a detail I noticed in those few seconds when Beau's mask slipped. Something in the way he smiled when he delivered that final blow. This wasn't just about leaving me for another woman. This was punishment. And as my baby kicks again, strong and insistent, I make a silent promise to both of us. If Beau wants to play games, he's about to learn that perfect little Jillian knows how to play dirty too. The silence in our bedroom, my bedroom now, feels like another presence. I've been staring at the ceiling for hours, watching shadows crawl across the walls as dawn approaches. My hand traces absent patterns over my belly while the other clutches my phone, thumb hovering over Beau's contact photo. The one where he's laughing at something I said. Love shining in his eyes. Was any of it real? A soft knock breaks my trance. Jilly? Serenity's voice carries through the door. I brought breakfast. I'm not hungry. The words come out raspy from crying. She enters anyway, because that's what sisters do. The smell of coffee, decaf, because she remembers everything, fills the room as she sets a tray on the nightstand. You need to eat. She perches on the edge of the bed. The baby needs you to eat. The baby. My hand presses harder against my stomach. I can't keep anything down. Try. She hands me a piece of dry toast. And then we need to talk about the papers Beau left. Just hearing his name makes bile rise in my throat. I force myself to take a bite anyway, the toast turning to ash in my mouth. There's nothing to talk about. He's made his choice. Serenity's eyes narrow. This isn't about choices anymore. This is about protecting yourself and your child. She pulls out her tablet. I've been doing some digging. What do you mean? Remember last month when you mentioned Beau was acting weird about the joint account? I had a feeling. She taps the screen a few times, then turns it toward me. Look at the transfer history. Numbers swim before my eyes, but then patterns emerge. Large sums moving between accounts I've never seen before, all in the weeks leading up to yesterday. He's been moving money, I whisper. But why would he? My phone buzzes, cutting me off. A text from an unknown number. Check the safe in his office. Code is Ruby's birthday. Signed to Yuan-7. You're not the only one he's screwing over. Who's that? Serenity leans over. I don't know. I'm already pushing myself up, ignoring the wave of dizziness. But I need to get to that safe before Beau does. You can barely stand. Help me or don't, but I'm going. 20 minutes later, we're in Beau's home office. Everything looks exactly as it did 2 days ago when he kissed me goodbye. The same expensive leather chair, the same pretentious modern art he loves. But now it all feels tainted. My hands shake as I input the code. 0317. The safe clicks open. That bastard. Serenity breathes. Inside are stacks of documents, bank statements, contracts, USB drives. But what catches my eye is a folder labeled More Family Trust. His father's company, I murmur, flipping through pages. These are transfer records, stock certificates. My breath catches. Oh my God. What? He's been embezzling from his own family's company. Millions. I keep reading, horror mounting. And he set it up to look like I'm involved. Serenity grabs the papers. How? My signature. He must have forged it. The room spins as implications hit me. That's why he did it at the baby shower. He wanted witnesses to our falling out. He's setting me up to take the fall. We need a lawyer, now. But I'm not listening. Another document has caught my eye. A prenuptial agreement I never signed. Only this version bears my signature, dated 3 years ago. He's been planning this for years, I whisper. Everything, the marriage, the baby, it was all just cover for his scheme. Fury rises in my chest, hot and clarifying. The fog of grief burns away, replaced by something harder. Colder. My phone buzzes again. Same unknown number. Board meeting next Thursday. Stephen Moore presents quarterly findings. Beau plans to blame everything on you. TikTok. I look up at Serenity, and something in my expression makes her step back. Jilly? Call Paige, I say, gathering the documents. Tell her to bring every scrap of information she can find about Ruby, and get me Clay's private number. Clay? Beau's business partner? Why? I close the safe, straightening my spine. Because Beau's not the only one who can play the long game. He wants to destroy me? Fine. But I'm taking everything he loves down with me. What are you going to do? I rest my hand on my belly, feeling my child move beneath my palm. When I speak, my voice is steel. I'm going to show him exactly what happens when you back a pregnant woman into a corner. The baby kicks, strong and sure, like a sign, like permission. Game on, darling husband. Game on. Rain pelts the windows of the coffee shop as I watch Clay approach through the glass. He spots me immediately. Not hard when you're the only heavily pregnant woman in the place, but hesitates at the door. I can almost see him weighing his options. Finally, he slides into the booth across from me, water dripping from his coat. Jillian, this is unexpected. Is it? I push a manila envelope across the table. Because I think you've been expecting this conversation for a while. His fingers tap an anxious rhythm on the tabletop. I can't discuss company business without Beau's permission? I cut in. That's funny, because these documents suggest you've been doing quite a bit without Beau's permission. Color drains from his face as he opens the envelope. I sip my tea, letting him process what he's seeing. 3 years of watching Beau negotiate taught me the power of silence. Where did you get these? His voice barely carries over the rain. Same place I got proof that you've been skimming from the Moore family account since before Beau joined the firm. I lean forward. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Clay's expression hardens. Is this blackmail? This is a warning. I rest my hand on my belly, feeling my child's reassuring movements. Beau's going to try to pin everything on me at next week's board meeting. When he does, these documents go public. You destroy yourself too. I'm already destroyed. The words come out sharper than intended. I take a breath, steady myself. But I can prove my signatures were forged. Can you prove the same about yours? A crack of thunder punctuates my question. Clay stares at his hands, and I see the moment his resolve breaks. He wasn't supposed to involve you. He whispers. The original plan? It was just supposed to be about the trust fund. Tell me, Stephen, Beau's father, he's been threatening to write Beau out of his will. Something about him not being worthy of the Moore legacy. Clay's laugh is bitter. Beau wanted revenge. And the money, of course. Always the money. So he married me for legitimacy, I say, the pieces clicking into place. The perfect wife, the perfect life, the perfect cover. Clay confirms. But then you got pregnant and everything changed. He started taking bigger risks, moving more money. Said he needed to secure his future now that there was an heir involved. My tea turns sour in my stomach. And Ruby? She works in accounting. Started helping him hide the transfers 6 months ago. He hesitates. Her pregnancy wasn't planned. It scared him. Made him accelerate everything. Including getting rid of me. Clay meets my eyes for the first time. He's going to destroy you, Jillian. He's got everything set up. The fake documents, the witness statements, even recordings of phone calls that never happened. The board will believe him. Unless someone with inside knowledge speaks up. He glances at the envelope. Someone who can prove where the money really went. I let his words hang between us, heavy with implication. Outside, the storm intensifies. I need time to think, he says finally. You have until Tuesday. I slide a burner phone across the table. My number's programmed in. If I don't hear from you by then, I'll assume you're choosing Beau's side. Standing takes more effort than it should. My back aches, and exhaustion pulls at every muscle. Clay catches my arm as I sway slightly. You should be resting, he says, concern flickering across his face. In your condition. My condition is exactly why I can't rest. I pull away gently. I'm fighting for 2 now. I'm almost to the door when he calls out. Jillian, there's something else you should know. About Ruby. My hand freezes on the door handle. What about her? She's not really pregnant. It's part of their plan. She'll fake a miscarriage next month. They thought it would help her case when she claims part of your settlement. The rain suddenly sounds very far away. All I can hear is my own heartbeat, steady and strong like my baby's. Thank you for telling me, I say without turning around. Outside, the storm has turned the city gray and blurry, like an old photograph. I stand under the awning, one hand pressed against my stomach, the other clutching my phone. My fingers move automatically, typing a message to the unknown number that started all this. Need everything you have on Ruby, especially medical records. The response comes instantly. Already on it. But there's more. Stephen knows something's wrong. He's hired private investigators. I smile as another crack of thunder splits the sky. Perfect. Time to add another player to the game. The city glitters below my penthouse windows, a constellation of lights I used to find beautiful. Now they just remind me of all the lies wrapped in pretty packages. I press my forehead against the cool glass, watching my breath fog the surface. You need to see this. Paige's voice breaks through my thoughts. She's sprawled across my couch, laptop balanced on her knees, surrounded by papers like a war room command center. I lower myself carefully beside her, my back protesting. What did you find? Ruby's medical records. She turns the screen toward me. Or should I say, Rebecca's medical records. My eyes scan the document, catching on details. She changed her name 3 years ago, right after her last interesting career choice. Paige pulls up another window. Turns out Ruby used to be quite the con artist. Small-time stuff mostly. Insurance fraud, identity theft. But here's where it gets good. A news article appears featuring a younger version of Ruby with different hair but the same predatory smile. The headline reads, "Woman accused of pregnancy scam and divorce settlement." She's done this before, I whisper. 3 times. Paige's fingers fly across the keyboard. Always the same pattern. Affair with a wealthy married man, fake pregnancy, dramatic miscarriage after securing a settlement. My phone buzzes. Clay's burner number. We need to talk. Now. It's worse than we thought. 20 minutes later, I'm back at the same coffee shop, but this time Clay isn't alone. A woman sits beside him, middle-aged, elegant with Stephen's sharp eyes. Jillian. Stephen's wife, Margaret, reaches for my hand. We've been waiting for you to figure it out. I sink into the booth, heart pounding. Figure what out? That Beau's not working alone. Clay glances nervously at the door. Stephen's been orchestrating everything from the beginning. Margaret's laugh is cold. My husband thinks he's so clever. 30 years I've watched him manipulate people, destroy lives. But this? She shakes her head. Using his own son's greed against him? That's new. I don't understand. Stephen knew about Beau's embezzling months ago, Clay explains. Instead of stopping it, he encouraged it. Fed him information, helped him set up accounts. All while building a case against him. And me, I add quietly. You were supposed to be collateral damage. Margaret's voice softens. Just another casualty in Stephen's grand plan to prove Beau unworthy of the Moore legacy. My baby kicks hard, making me wince. Margaret notices. That's why I couldn't stay quiet anymore. She reaches into her bag, pulls out a USB drive. Everything's here. Every transaction, every phone call, every meeting. Stephen's been recording everything. Why are you helping me? Her eyes fix on my stomach. Because 30 years ago, I was you. Pregnant, betrayed, caught in Stephen's games. I chose to stay silent. Her fingers twist her wedding ring. I won't watch another woman's life be destroyed by more men. Clay's phone chimes. His face goes pale. Beau's called an emergency board meeting tomorrow morning. He knows. The realization hits like ice water. Someone tipped him off. We need to move fast. Margaret stands. I can get you into Stephen's office tonight. The real evidence is there. Everything you need to protect yourself. It's too risky, Clay protests. If you're caught, I won't be. I push myself up, one hand on my back. Because you're going to help create a distraction. Later, as I lay in bed trying to sleep, Paige's voice comes through the darkness. She insisted on staying over, camping out on my couch like we're teenagers again. Are you sure about this? She asks. Breaking into Stephen's office, it's not just unethical, it's illegal. I stare at the ceiling, remembering Margaret's eyes when she talked about staying silent. Remembering Ruby's smirk at my baby shower. Remembering Beau's cold smile as he destroyed my world. They made it illegal, I say finally. When they decided to use the law as a weapon. When they thought they could sacrifice my life, my baby's future, for their games. My hand rests on my belly, feeling the strong kicks that remind me what I'm fighting for. Sometimes justice doesn't look like what we expect. Just be careful, Paige whispers. Not just of them, of yourself. Revenge changes people. I think of the evidence waiting in Stephen's office, of the choices I'll have to make tomorrow, of the line between justice and vengeance and how easy it is to blur. I'm already changed, I tell the darkness. The question is, what am I changing into? My phone lights up with a final message from Margaret. Office alarm disabled at midnight. Don't make me regret this. No turning back now. Tomorrow I find out what I'm really capable of. The Moore building looms over me like a steel and glass mountain, its top floors lost in low-hanging clouds. My heart pounds as I swipe Margaret's security card, willing my hands not to shake. The lobby camera's red light blinks steadily. Clay's handling that, feeding looped footage from last week. Security rounds in 20 minutes. Margaret's voice crackles through my earpiece. Elevator to 47. Hurry. The elevator rises silently, each floor bringing me closer to the point of no return. I catch my reflection in the polished doors. A woman I barely recognize, dressed in black, face pale but determined. My baby shifts restlessly, as if sensing my tension. I know, little one, I whisper. Mommy's scared too. The elevator dings. Stephen's corner office suite stretches before me, Manhattan's lights twinkling beyond floor-to-ceiling windows. I'm halfway to his private office when a lamp clicks on. I wondered if you'd come. Stephen sits in his leather chair, watching me with those calculating eyes. My blood turns to ice. How did you know? He gestures to a chair. Please sit. In your condition, you shouldn't be standing. My earpiece crackles. Jillian, what's happening? Margaret's voice is tight with worry. I sink into the chair, mind racing. Stephen reaches over and gently removes my earpiece, setting it on his desk. Margaret means well, he says, but she never understood the bigger picture. And what picture is that? My voice comes out steadier than I feel. The one where you destroy your son and daughter-in-law for sport? He laughs, but there's no warmth in it. You think this is about destruction? This is about legacy, about separating the worthy from the weak. By setting up your own son? By testing him. Stephen leans forward. And you? Tell me, what were you hoping to find tonight? The truth. But whose truth? He opens a drawer, removes a familiar USB drive. Margaret's? Clay's? Or perhaps... He pulls out another drive. The actual records of every illegal transaction Beau's made since joining the company? My hands curl into fists. You've been watching me. Of course. And I must say you've exceeded expectations. The way you turned Clay, brought Margaret to your side. Impressive. His smile reminds me of a shark. You're everything Beau isn't. Strategic, patient, willing to sacrifice for the long game. What are you saying? I'm saying you have a choice. He places both drives on the desk. One contains everything you need to destroy Beau completely. The other has proof of his crimes but protects the company and your child's inheritance. Understanding dawns. This was never about Beau. This was about finding someone worthy of running your company. The Moore legacy needs strength, conviction. His eyes drop to my stomach. And an air raised by someone who understands power. You want me to take over? Want? No, I'm offering you the chance to earn it. He slides the drives toward me. Choose wisely. My baby kicks hard, making me gasp. Stephen's expression softens fractionally. You have your child to think about now. Their future. Their security. I stare at the drives, remembering Beau's cruel smile at the baby shower. Remembering Margaret's haunted eyes. 30 years of silence. You're right, I say quietly. I do have my child to think about. I stand, bracing myself against the desk. And that's exactly why I can't become you. Before he can react, I snatch both drives and step back. My baby deserves better than a legacy built on manipulation and fear. Don't be foolish. His voice hardens. You're throwing away everything. No. I straighten my spine. I'm choosing something better. Tomorrow at the board meeting, everything comes out. All of it. Your games, Beau's crimes, Ruby's cons. Let the chips fall where they may. They'll destroy you. Maybe. I move toward the door. But my child will know their mother chose truth over power, love over legacy. Security's already on their way up. I smile, feeling strangely calm. No, they're not. Because in about 30 seconds, every computer in this building is going to start downloading some very interesting files. Paige says hello, by the way. She's quite good with systems. His face contorts. You exceeded expectations? I rest my hand on my belly. Thank you for the lesson in legacy, Stephen. I'll be sure to teach my child a better one. The elevator doors close on his thunderous expression. My phone buzzes. Paige confirming the files are spreading through the company's servers. By morning, everyone will know everything. It's done, I whisper to my baby. No more secrets, no more games. The elevator descends, and with each floor, I feel lighter. Tomorrow will bring chaos, but for the first time since the baby shower, I'm not afraid. I've chosen my legacy. Now it's time to build it. Morning sunlight streams through my bedroom windows as I button my blazer, trying to find an angle where I look more confident than terrified. The board meeting starts in 2 hours and my hands won't stop shaking. My phone lights up with Paige's text. Turn on the news, now. The TV flickers to life and there's Beau standing outside the Moore building. Ruby clutches his arm, tears streaming down her perfectly made-up face, devastated to announce that due to complications, we've lost the baby. She sobs. And to discover that my private medical information was stolen and distributed by someone I trusted. The camera pans to Beau's grief-stricken expression. My wife, my ex-wife, has been unstable since learning about the divorce. But this violation of privacy, this targeted harassment of Ruby during such a tragic time. My coffee mug shatters against the wall before I realize I've thrown it. That manipulative bastard. Serenity spits from my doorway. He's playing the sympathy card. He's neutralizing our evidence about Ruby's fake pregnancy. I say, my voice hollow, making me look unhinged before I can even present my case. My phone buzzes again. Clay. Emergency. Meet me at the cafe. Now. 20 minutes later, I slide into our usual booth. Clay's face is ashen. They got to Margaret. He says without preamble. Stephen threatened to expose her own secrets. She's recanting everything. The room spins slightly. What secrets? Apparently she had an affair years ago. The daughter Stephen thinks is his... Clay rubs his face. She's choosing to protect her family. I'm sorry. So we've lost Margaret's testimony. The pregnancy evidence is worthless, and half the board probably thinks I'm having a mental breakdown. I press my hands against my belly, seeking comfort in my baby's movements. What else can go wrong? The cafe door chimes. Ruby walks in, alone. Hello, Jillian. She slides into the booth next to Clay, who goes rigid. We need to talk. I have nothing to say to you. Really? Not even about this? She places a phone on the table. The screen shows a video of me in Stephen's office last night. Amazing what security cameras catch, isn't it? My throat goes dry. What do you want? To make a deal. She leans forward. That video goes public in 1 hour unless you agree to sign a confession. Take responsibility for the embezzlement, drop all claims to company assets, and disappear. Why would I do that? Because if you don't, Beau has evidence suggesting you've been stealing money to fund a drug habit. Very concerning for an expectant mother. Her smile is venomous. Child Services takes those claims very seriously. The baby kicks hard, as if protesting. Clay starts to speak, but I silence him with a look. You really are perfect for each other, I tell Ruby, both so focused on the game that you miss the obvious. Which is? I pull out my phone, start a recording. Could you repeat that threat about Child Services? And maybe mention again how you'll fabricate drug evidence if I don't comply? Color drains from her face. You Have been recording every conversation since the baby shower? Yes. I meet her eyes. Your move. She snatches her phone and storms out. Clay lets out a shaky breath. That was risky. No. I gather my things. That was necessary. She just confirmed they're desperate. What are you going to do? My phone buzzes with a text from the unknown number. Stephen's private server accessed. Found something you need to see. Meeting room B, 30 minutes. I'm going to do what they never expected, I tell Clay. I'm going to tell the truth. The whole truth. No games, no schemes, no manipulation. They'll fight dirty. Let them. I stand, squaring my shoulders. I'm done playing by their rules. In meeting room B, I find a thick folder waiting. Inside are documents that make my hands tremble. Not with fear this time, but with certainty. My phone buzzes one last time. Bo. Last chance. Walk away now or I'll destroy everything you have left. I think of our baby, growing strong despite everything. Think of the legacy of lies I'm breaking free from. Think of the truth waiting in that folder. No, I type back. You destroyed everything I had 2 weeks ago. Now I'm building something new. Something honest. See you at the board meeting. I rest my hand on my belly, feeling my child's steady movements. Ready to help mommy burn it all down, little one? The kick I feel is strong, decisive, like a battle drum. Time to end this, once and for all. The boardroom falls silent as I walk in, every eye tracking my movement. Bo sits at Stephen's right hand, Ruby beside him like a perfectly positioned chess piece. The morning sun through the windows casts their faces in harsh relief, highlighting the tension in their practiced smiles. My heels click against marble as I make my way to the podium. The folder in my hands weighs nothing and everything. Before we begin, Stephen stands, all paternal concern. Given recent events and Mrs. Moore's emotional state, perhaps we should... It's Ms. Wilcox now. I cut in, my voice steady. And I'm exactly where I need to be. I open the folder, laying out documents one by one. My hands don't shake anymore. 2 weeks ago, my husband served me divorce papers at my baby shower. It was cruel, calculated, and perfectly orchestrated. I meet Bo's eyes. It was also a smokescreen. Ruby shifts uncomfortably. Bo's jaw tightens. We're all busy people, so I'll be direct. Every person at this table has received evidence of extensive embezzlement from company accounts. Evidence suggesting my involvement. I pause, letting the tension build. That evidence was fabricated, but not by who you think. I slide the first document forward. A series of emails between Stephen and Bo spanning 3 years. This wasn't about a son stealing from his father. This was about a father using his son's greed to orchestrate a corporate coup. My voice carries to every corner. Every transaction, every false document, every manipulated record, all orchestrated by Stephen Moore. The board members murmur, reaching for copies of the emails. Stephen's face darkens. These could easily be falsified, he says smoothly. Unlike the evidence against me? I pull out my phone, press play. Stephen's voice fills the room. The Moore legacy needs strength. Conviction. Color drains from his face as the recording continues, laying bare his entire scheme. Bo stands abruptly, pointing at me. You can't seriously believe... Sit down, Bo. The command cracks like a whip. It's Margaret standing in the doorway. It's over. She walks to the center of the room, drops a stack of papers on the table. 30 years of records, every manipulation, every scheme, every destroyed career. I kept receipts. You promised. Stephen starts. I promised to stay silent about our daughter. Margaret cuts in. I said nothing about your business practices. Ruby tries to slip toward the door, but Paige blocks her path. Going somewhere? Maybe to delete those fake medical records? Too late. The boardroom erupts in chaos. Questions fly. Accusations mount. Through it all, I keep my eyes on Bo, watching his carefully constructed world crumble. Why? He asks finally, voice cracking. I gave you everything. No. I rest my hand on my belly, feeling our child move. You gave me a beautiful lie, but our baby deserves better than a legacy built on deception. The company will survive. I turned to the board. Every stolen penny has been traced. With Clay's help, we've already begun recovering funds. The Moore Group can be rebuilt, stronger and more ethical. Under whose leadership? Someone asks. Mine. Margaret's voice rings with authority. Unless anyone objects? The silence is deafening. Stephen seems to age decades before our eyes. Security is waiting outside. I tell him quietly. You have a choice. Leave quietly or be escorted out. Either way, the DA has everything they need. He stands slowly, straightening his tie one last time. You've destroyed decades of work. No, Margaret says. We've saved this company from what you turned it into. As security leads them out, Stephen, Beau, Ruby, I feel the weight of the past months lifting. My baby kicks, strong and insistent. I know, little one. I whisper. We did it. The boardroom empties gradually. Margaret squeezes my hand as she passes. Ready to help me rebuild? I smile, thinking of the future stretching before us. Actually, I have other plans. Later, standing at my office window watching the sunset, I feel Paige approach. So what now? She asks. Going to be a corporate warrior mom after all? No. I turn to face her. I'm starting my own consulting firm, helping other women navigate corporate warfare and toxic divorces, using what I've learned to make sure no one else goes through this alone. She grins. Need a partner? Always. My phone buzzes, a final message from my unknown ally. Well played. The world needs more mothers like you. I smile, watching the city lights flicker to life. My baby moves beneath my palm, and I think about legacy. Not the kind built in boardrooms, but the kind built on truth, strength, and the courage to stand up when the world tries to break you. Ready for our next adventure? I ask my belly. The kick I feel is answer enough. The hospital room is quiet except for the steady beeping of monitors and my daughter's soft breathing. She's perfect. 10 tiny fingers, 10 tiny toes, and a fierce grip that hasn't loosened since they placed her in my arms. She looks like you, Serenity whispers from beside my bed. Same determined chin. I trace my finger along my daughter's cheek, marveling at her softness. Poor thing. Have you decided on a name? Before I can answer, there's a knock at the door. A woman enters, tall, elegant, with silver-streaked dark hair and familiar eyes that make my breath catch. Hello, Jillian. She smiles tentatively. I hope I'm not intruding. You're the one who sent the texts, I realize. The anonymous tips. She nods, moving closer. I'm Elizabeth, Stephen's first wife. Serenity straightens, protective. Why are you here? Because 30 years ago, I made a different choice than Jillian. Elizabeth's eyes fix on my daughter. When I discovered Stephen's manipulation, his games, I ran. Left everything behind, including my chance to change things. She places a small package on my bedside table. This arrived at my office this morning. I thought you should see it. Inside is a newspaper, today's edition. The headline reads, Moore Group announces new direction. Margaret Moore implements sweeping ethics reforms. Keep reading, Elizabeth urges. My eyes scan down. In related news, former CEO Stephen Moore and son Beau Moore have accepted plea deals in the ongoing fraud investigation. Ruby Joseph, identified as a key conspirator, faces additional charges. Justice comes in many forms, Elizabeth says softly. Sometimes it's loud and public. Sometimes it's quiet, like a baby girl born free from toxic legacies. Why did you help me? I ask. Why now? Because 30 years ago, Margaret stayed to fight while I ran. We were both trying to protect our children, but she proved there was another way. She reaches for her purse. I've spent decades building networks, helping women escape men like Stephen. When Margaret told me about you, I knew it was time to come out of the shadows. My daughter stirs, making tiny mewling sounds. Elizabeth's expression softens. What will you name her? I look down at my daughter's face, so new, yet so wise. Truth. Truth? Serenity asks. Truth Margaret Wilcox. I kiss my daughter's forehead. Because that's what saved us. What will guide us. Elizabeth pulls out a business card. When you're ready to start your consulting firm, call me. My network could use someone like you. Someone like me? Someone who knows that real power isn't in boardrooms or bank accounts. She touches Truth's tiny hand. It's in having the courage to stand up and say, no more. After she leaves, Serenity helps me adjust Truth against my chest. You know, when all this started, I was so worried about you. I remember. You thought revenge would change me. It did change you. She squeezes my hand. Just not how I expected. I think about the past months. The pain, the fury, the calculated moves and counter moves. But mostly I think about the moment I chose truth over power. Freedom over revenge. I learned something. I tell Serenity. The opposite of manipulation isn't surrender. It's honesty. The opposite of control isn't chaos. It's choice. Truth makes a small sound like she's agreeing. Her eyes open, startlingly clear and direct. Hello, my fierce girl, I whisper. Welcome to our story. My phone lights up with messages. Paige confirming our office lease. Margaret sharing board meeting details. Clay sending congratulations. Each one represents a thread in the new tapestry I'm weaving. But right now, in this quiet room, none of that matters. What matters is my daughter's heartbeat against my chest, steady and strong. What matters is the truth we fought for, the legacy we'll build together. I think of Beau, of Stephen, of all their careful plans and power plays. They never understood that real strength isn't in what you can take from others. It's in what you choose to give, what you choose to build. Truth grips my finger, and in her tiny grasp, I feel everything I've gained by letting go of revenge. Purpose, clarity, freedom. A future built on honesty instead of games. Ready to change the world? I ask my daughter. Her eyes meet mine, fearless and bright. Like truth itself, she doesn't need words to answer.
The day I buried my son, my husband checked his phone during the eulogy. That was the moment I knew our marriage was as dead as the child we'd lost. I'm Taylor, and until 3 weeks ago, I thought I understood grief better than most. As a psychologist specializing in grief counseling, I'd guided countless patients through their darkest moments. But nothing prepared me for losing Tommy. Nothing prepared me for Joseph's reaction either. We should start thinking about clearing out his room, Joseph whispered as we stood by the tiny casket. The space could be useful. I stared at him, unable to process the words. Around us, mourners dabbed at their eyes with tissues, their black attire a stark contrast against the vibrant spring flowers adorning the cemetery. My sister Alina squeezed my hand, but I barely felt it. What did you just say? My voice cracked. Joseph glanced up from his phone. I'm just being practical, Taylor. We need to move forward. Move forward. Our 8-year-old son had been dead for barely a week. The image of his empty bedroom, still littered with half-finished Lego projects and dog-eared books, flashed through my mind. Taylor? Regina, my colleague, approached cautiously. Do you need a moment? I nodded, grateful for the escape. Regina led me to a quiet corner of the cemetery, away from the sympathetic gazes and whispered condolences. He's been like this since the accident, I confided, my hands shaking as I accepted the water bottle she offered. No tears, no breakdown, nothing. Just business as usual. Regina's face darkened. That's not normal grieving behavior. I know, I keep telling myself he's in shock, that everyone processes grief differently. I laughed bitterly. I should know, right? It's what I tell my patients. This is different, Regina said firmly. The Joseph I knew 6 months ago would have been devastated. Remember how he reacted when Tommy broke his arm? The memory hit me like a physical blow. Joseph had been frantic, barely leaving Tommy's side during the hospital stay. Where was that father now? Something's changed, I admitted. Or maybe I'm just seeing him clearly for the first time. A notification sound cut through our conversation. Joseph stood several feet away, engrossed in his phone. As I watched, he smiled slightly at whatever he was reading. I should get back, I said, straightening my black dress. People will want to say goodbye. The rest of the funeral passed in a blur. I accepted hugs, nodded at condolences, and somehow managed not to scream when Joseph announced he had to leave early for a business meeting. That evening, I sat alone in Tommy's room, surrounded by his belongings. His favorite stuffed dinosaur still sat on his pillow, waiting for bedtime stories that would never come. On his desk, a half-written letter to Santa listed Christmas wishes he'd never receive. My phone buzzed with a text from Joseph. Meeting running late. Don't wait up. I started to type a response, then stopped. Instead, I opened my laptop and pulled up our shared calendar. Joseph's schedule showed nothing but blank spaces for the afternoon and evening. Regina, I said when she answered my call. Remember when you said something had changed with Joseph? Yes? I need your help. Something's not right, and I'm going to find out what it is. Taylor. Regina's voice was cautious. Are you sure this is the right time? You're grieving. I'm grieving my son, I cut in. But I'm starting to wonder if I should be grieving my marriage too. Joseph's hiding something, and I need to know what it is. There was a long pause before Regina responded. Okay, what do you need? I looked at Tommy's dinosaur, remembering how Joseph used to make it dance to make our son laugh. When had those moments stopped? When had I stopped noticing they were gone? Everything, I said firmly. I need to know everything. Bank statements, phone records, email accounts, whatever you can help me access. That's not exactly legal, Regina warned. Neither is what I suspect he's doing. I picked up Tommy's dinosaur, hugging it close. My son deserved better than a father who checks his phone during his funeral, and I deserve to know why the man I married turned into a stranger. I'll help, Regina said finally. But Taylor, be prepared. Whatever we find might change everything. Everything already changed the moment Tommy died, I replied. Now I just need to understand why. After hanging up, I sat in the growing darkness of Tommy's room, clutching his dinosaur and making a silent promise. I would find out what Joseph was hiding. I would understand why he'd changed. And when I did, I would make sure he felt every ounce of pain he'd failed to show at our son's funeral. I just didn't know then how deep the betrayal went, or how much more I would lose before I found the truth. Regina's office felt like a war room, with papers spread across her desk and multiple screens displaying various documents. 2 weeks had passed since Tommy's funeral, and we'd been digging deeper into Joseph's life every day. Look at this. Regina pointed to a spreadsheet. These withdrawals happen like clockwork, the 15th of every month, $5,000, always in cash. I leaned closer, scanning the dates. For how long? 3 years at least. That's as far back as I could access. The numbers blurred before my eyes. 3 years of secret withdrawals. 3 years of lies. Where's the money going? That's the thing. Regina clicked through several windows. It's not going to any shared accounts, not to his business ventures, not to any investments I can trace. A knock at the door made us both jump. Connor, Joseph's business partner, stood in the doorway, his expression uncertain. Taylor, I thought I saw you come in here. He glanced at the screens, which Regina quickly minimized. How are you holding up? I'm managing, I said, forcing a smile. Just catching up with Regina. Connor shifted uncomfortably. Listen, I've been meaning to talk to you about Joseph. My heart rate picked up. What about him? He's been different lately, distracted, missing important meetings or showing up unprepared. Connor ran a hand through his graying hair. I assumed it was grief, but this started before Tommy. How long before? I asked, keeping my voice steady. 6 months? Maybe more. He's been taking a lot of business trips to Portland, but half the time I can't reach him when he's there. Connor shook his head. I probably shouldn't be telling you this. No, please. I touched his arm. I need to know. Well, last month he missed a crucial investor meeting. Said he was in Portland, but when I called the hotel where he usually stays, they had no record of him. After Connor left, I turned to Regina. Portland, that's only 3 hours away. Want me to look into property records there? I nodded, already pulling out my phone to text my journalist friend, Gwendolyn. I'm going to need another favor. That evening, I arrived home early, determined to search Joseph's home office before he returned. The room felt foreign now, like everything else in our life. His desk drawer was locked, but I found the key taped under his keyboard, an old habit he'd never broken. Inside, beneath a stack of papers, lay a small leather notebook. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside were dates, times, and brief notes. W's soccer game, 3 p.m. C. Dinner at Giovanni's. Remember, W's allergic to peanuts. Who were W and C? My phone buzzed. A text from Gwendolyn. Found something. Coffee tomorrow? The next morning, I met her at our usual cafe. She slid a manila envelope across the table. Property records, she explained. Joseph's name isn't on any of them, but I found something interesting. A house purchased 3 years ago by a shell company, one that traces back to his business holdings. The photos showed a modest 2-story home with a well-maintained garden. A child's bicycle lay on its side in the driveway. There's more, Gwendolyn said quietly. I drove by yesterday. A woman lives there with her son. The boy looks about 10. My coffee cup clattered against its saucer. A son? I took some pictures. She hesitated before showing me her phone. Taylor, are you sure you want to see these? The first photo showed a woman with auburn hair unloading groceries. The second made my blood run cold. Joseph, helping a young boy with what looked like soccer gear. When was this taken? Yesterday afternoon. Yesterday. While I'd been searching his office, he'd been playing Happy Families in Portland. The boy, I whispered. What does he look like up close? Gwendolyn swiped to another photo. The child had Joseph's eyes, his smile. He was wearing a soccer uniform with Edwards printed on the back. His name is Wyatt, Gwendolyn said gently. Wyatt Edwards. His mother is Clara Edwards. The cafe suddenly felt too small, too hot. 3 years of withdrawals, a secret house, a whole other family. Taylor, Gwendolyn reached across the table. What are you going to do? I stared at the photo of the boy, Wyatt, who shared my husband's features and someone else's last name. While my son lay cold in the ground, this child played soccer with the father who couldn't even cry at Tommy's funeral. I'm going to destroy him, I said, my voice surprisingly calm. Not just expose him, destroy him, and I know exactly where to start. I pulled out Joseph's notebook, the one filled with dates and initials that now made perfect sense. First, I need to meet Clara Edwards. She deserves to know she's not the only one who's been betrayed. Portland in autumn looked exactly like the life Joseph had built here. Picture perfect on the surface, rot underneath. I'd been sitting in my rental car outside the local elementary school for 20 minutes, watching parents collect their children. You don't have to do this today, Regina's voice crackled through my phone speaker. We could gather more information first. No, I said, watching another wave of kids pour out the front doors. I need to see them, to make it real. That's when I saw him, Wyatt. He bounded down the steps wearing a blue backpack covered in dinosaur patches, just like Tommy used to have. The sight knocked the wind out of me. Taylor, are you there? He's here, I whispered. God, Regina, he looks just like Joseph. A woman approached Wyatt, Clara. She was beautiful in an effortless way, wearing a casual sweater and jeans. She hugged her son, ruffled his hair, laughed at something he said. Everything about her screamed, normal mom, just like I used to be. I was so focused on them, I didn't notice the car pulling up beside mine until someone tapped on my window. My heart stopped. It was Wyatt. Hey lady, are you okay? His concerned face peered in at me. You've been crying. I quickly wiped my cheeks, unaware tears had been falling. Clara approached behind him, maternal concern shifting to wariness as she assessed the stranger in the car. I'm fine, I managed, rolling down the window. Just having a rough day. Mom, she looks sad like Mrs. Peterson did when her dog died, Wyatt said to Clara. Clara's expression softened. I'm so sorry. Would you like us to call someone for you? The irony was almost laughable. Should I ask them to call my husband, their husband? No, thank you. I just lost my son recently, and seeing all these children... Oh my God. Clara's hand flew to her mouth. I'm so sorry. I can't imagine. Your son likes dinosaurs? I nodded toward Wyatt's backpack, desperate to change the subject. His face lit up. Yeah, Dad just got me this awesome T-Rex model kit. Do you want to see a picture? Dad, Joseph. The same man who couldn't be bothered to help Tommy with his dinosaur models those last few months. Wyatt, honey, we should let her have some space, Clara said gently. She handed me a tissue from her purse. I'm Clara, by the way. If you need anything... Taylor, I replied, watching her face carefully for any recognition. There was none. Thank you, both of you. You've been very kind. As they walked away, Wyatt turned back to wave. I waved back, my hand shaking. My phone buzzed. Regina again. Did you see them? I didn't just see them, I said, starting the car. I talked to them. Clara has no idea who I am. None at all. Taylor? I'm following them, I said, pulling out as Clara's car turned the corner. I need to see where they go. They led me to a small cafe, the kind of place that probably knew their regular orders by heart. Through the window, I watched Wyatt do homework while Clara graded papers. She must be a teacher. They looked so normal, so happy. My phone buzzed with a text from Joseph. Working late again, don't wait up. I checked the time, 3:45 p.m. Right on schedule, a familiar car pulled into the cafe parking lot. Joseph stepped out, straightening his tie before walking in. Through the window, I watched Wyatt jump up to hug him. Joseph lifted him off the ground, spinning him around like he used to do with Tommy. Clara stood to kiss him hello, and they looked like any other happy family enjoying their afternoon routine. My hands gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. 3 years. For 3 years, he'd been living this double life. While I worked late at my practice, while I took Tommy to his appointments alone, while I wondered why my husband seemed so distant. He was here, playing dad to another woman's son. My phone buzzed again. Gwendolyn this time. Got the financial records you asked for. It's worse than we thought. Want to meet? Yes, I replied, watching Joseph ruffle Wyatt's hair. But first, I need you to do something else. Find out everything you can about Clara. Where she teaches, her friends, her routine, everything. What are you planning? I started the car as Joseph settled into the cafe chair, pulling out what looked like Wyatt's homework. He's given them the perfect life while destroying mine. So I'm going to do the same to him. But first what? First, I'm going to tell Clara exactly who her perfect husband really is, and then we're going to make him pay. Both of us. As I drove away, I caught one last glimpse of them through the window, the picture-perfect family that existed because of my husband's perfect lies. By this time next week, that picture would be shattered, just like mine had been. The envelope felt heavy in my hands as I stood on Clara's front porch. Joseph was away at a business conference, actually at our home in Seattle, and I knew this was my chance. I rang the doorbell before I could lose my nerve. Clara opened the door, recognition flickering across her face. Taylor, from the school? Can we talk? I held up the envelope. It's about Joseph. Her smile faltered. Is everything okay? No, I said quietly. Nothing about this is okay. She led me into a living room that could have been pulled from a home decoration magazine. Family photos covered the walls, Joseph and Wyatt at the beach, Clara and Joseph's wedding photo, Wyatt's school pictures, a parallel life documented in perfect detail. Would you like some tea? Clara offered. I'd rather just show you these. I pulled out the photos, the bank statements, the marriage certificate, mine, not hers, laid them on her coffee table like cards in a terrible game. Clara's hands trembled as she picked up my wedding photo. I don't understand. Joseph is my husband, I said. Has been for 12 years. We had a son named Tommy. He died 3 weeks ago. The color drained from Clara's face. No, this is some kind of mistake. The mistake was his, I said, pointing to the bank statements. These withdrawals? $5,000 every month for 3 years. That's how he's been maintaining this life with you. Mom? Wyatt's voice came from the stairs. Who's here? Clara jumped up. Honey, go back upstairs, please. But Wyatt was already in the doorway, his eyes widening when he saw me. Hey, you're the sad lady from school. Wyatt, upstairs, now. Clara's voice shook with authority she didn't feel. After Wyatt reluctantly retreated, Clara collapsed onto the couch, staring at the evidence of her shattered life. 3 weeks ago, Joseph said he had to go to New York for business. He was at our son's funeral, I said, checking his phone during the eulogy. Clara pressed her hands to her mouth, tears streaming down her face. 10 years, she whispered. We've been married 10 years. Wyatt, oh God, Wyatt. I'm not here to hurt you or Wyatt, I said, my professional training kicking in despite everything. I'm here because you deserve to know the truth, and because I think we can help each other. Help each other? Clara laughed bitterly. How? By sharing custody of our mutual husband? By destroying him, I said simply. Professionally, financially, socially. I have a plan, but I need your help. Clara wiped her eyes, looking at the photos again. Your son. What happened? Leukemia, I said, my throat tightening. 8 months of treatment. Joseph was barely there. Now I know why. Wyatt's soccer games, Clara whispered. Every Saturday morning. He never missed one. But your son was having chemotherapy on Saturdays, I finished, while Joseph was here, playing devoted dad to Wyatt. Clara stood abruptly, walking to a desk in the corner. She pulled out a folder and returned, dropping it on top of my documents. Bank accounts, property deeds, business investments, all in my name. Joseph said it was for tax purposes. It was to hide money from me, I said, scanning the papers, and probably others. There's more, Clara said. Last week he asked me to sign some papers, transfer papers for Wyatt's college fund, nearly $500,000. Said he wanted to move it to a better investment account. My phone buzzed. A text from Connor. You were right. Found irregularities in company accounts. Big ones. Call me. I showed Clara the message. Joseph's not just been lying to us. He's been stealing from his company, too. What's your plan? Clara asked, her voice stronger now. First, we document everything. Then, when we have all the evidence, we go public, all at once. Media, police, SEC. He won't know what hit him. And Wyatt? Clara's eyes filled with tears again. How do I tell my son his father is a fraud? We'll figure it out together, I said, surprising myself with how much I meant it. Joseph doesn't get to destroy any more lives. Clara nodded slowly, then stood and walked to the stairs. Wyatt, can you come down, please? Clara, you don't have to. Yes, I do, she said firmly. He deserves to know he has someone else in his corner, someone who understands exactly what Joseph has done to him. Wyatt appeared, clutching his dinosaur model kit, the one Joseph had given him. The sight made my heart ache. Honey, Clara said gently, this is Taylor. She's going to be helping us with some changes that are coming, and I think she might know a thing or two about dinosaurs too. Wyatt's face lit up, and in that moment I realized something unexpected. In trying to destroy Joseph's perfect lie of a life, I might have found something real to hold on to instead. We've got him, Gwendolyn announced, spreading documents across my dining room table. Clara sat beside me, while Regina and Connor occupied the other chairs. 2 weeks had passed since I'd revealed the truth to Clara, and we'd been building our case methodically. The money transfers were just the beginning, Connor said, pointing to a complex web of transactions. He's been embezzling company funds through fake consultancy firms for years, at least $4 million. Clara's hand shook as she reached for her coffee. And the college fund he wanted me to transfer would have disappeared into one of his offshore accounts, Regina confirmed, along with everything else he's been siphoning away. That's not all, Gwendolyn added, pulling out her laptop. I found 2 other properties, one in Vancouver, one in San Diego, both purchased through shell companies. My stomach lurched. More families? No, Gwendolyn shook her head. Investment properties. He's been preparing his escape route. The doorbell rang, making us all jump. I checked the security camera feed on my phone. It was Wyatt. Mom, he called through the door. I forgot my house key again. Clara moved to get up, but I stopped her. I'll get it. You keep going through the documents. When I opened the door, Wyatt bounded in, then froze at the sight of all the adults in the dining room. Oh, is this about Dad? The room fell silent. Clara and I had told him a simplified version of the truth, that his dad had done some bad things and there would be changes coming. He'd taken it better than expected, though I suspected he understood more than he let on. Yeah, buddy, I said softly. It is. Wyatt pulled something from his backpack, a USB drive. Then maybe you should see this. What is it? Clara asked as Wyatt handed the drive to Gwendolyn. Dad's always leaving his laptop at our house, Wyatt explained. Last time he forgot to log out of his email. I I copied some stuff. Gwendolyn plugged in the drive, and we all crowded around her laptop. Emails filled the screen, hundreds of them, detailing money transfers, fake business deals, and conversations with offshore bankers. "Wyatt," Clara whispered, "how did you know to do this?" He shrugged, but I caught the hurt in his eyes. "Dad stopped coming to my soccer games 2 months ago. Said he was busy with work. But I saw him texting about beach houses instead." I pulled out a chair for him. "You're pretty smart, you know that." "Tommy was smart too, wasn't he?" Wyatt asked quietly. "Dad had a picture of him on his phone once. He said it was his friend's kid, but it wasn't, was it?" The room grew very still. I swallowed hard. "No, it wasn't." Wyatt nodded, then pulled out another surprise, a small notebook. "I found this in Dad's car last week. It's got lots of numbers and names in it." Connor practically lunged for the notebook. "This is his personal ledger. We've been looking for this for weeks." "Wyatt," Clara said firmly, "what you did was very brave, but I need you to promise me something. No more investigating on your own, okay? Let us handle this." "Okay," he agreed, then turned to me. "Can I show you my new dinosaur book while they do boring grown-up stuff?" I caught Clara's eye, received her nod of approval. I'd love that. As Wyatt and I settled on the couch with his book, I heard the others continuing their planning. "We need to move fast," Gwendolyn was saying. "Once we go public, he'll try to run." "The SEC is ready," Connor added. "They've been building their case quietly. We just needed proof of intent." "Which Wyatt just gave us," Regina finished. Clara joined us on the couch, putting an arm around her son. "You okay, honey?" Wyatt nodded, then asked the question I could tell had been bothering him. "Is Dad going to jail?" "Probably," Clara answered honestly. "He did some very bad things." "I know," Wyatt said, surprising us both. "He hurt Tommy by not being there, and he hurt you and Taylor too." I blinked back tears as Wyatt turned the page of his dinosaur book, pointing to a stegosaurus. "Tommy liked dinosaurs too?" "He loved them," I managed. "He had a whole collection." "Maybe," Wyatt hesitated. "Maybe I could see them sometime, to remember him by?" Before I could respond, Gwendolyn called out, "It's time. Everything's ready. We just need to make the calls." Clara squeezed Wyatt's shoulder. "Why don't you and Taylor finish the book upstairs? The grown-ups need to make some important phone calls." As we headed upstairs, I heard the first call being made, Gwendolyn to her editor. By tomorrow, Joseph's carefully constructed world would crumble completely. "Taylor?" Wyatt asked as we settled into the guest room. "After Dad goes away, will you still visit us?" I pulled him close, realizing that in seeking revenge, I'd found something I never expected, a chance to be part of a family again. "Yes," I promised, "as long as you and your mom want me around." The morning the story broke, I watched Joseph's world implode from my office. Every major news outlet picked up Gwendolyn's exposé. Tech executives' double life, fraud, 2 families, and millions in stolen funds. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Regina burst in without knocking, her tablet displaying live coverage. "They're arresting him right now. It's on every channel." I switched on the TV mounted in my office. There was Joseph, being led out of his company's building in handcuffs. His perfectly pressed suit was wrinkled, his carefully styled hair disheveled. "Have you heard from Clara?" Regina asked. "She's keeping Wyatt home from school today. They're staying at her sister's place until this dies down." My office phone rang. Alina. "Sis, are you watching this? Are you okay?" "I'm fine," I said, watching Joseph duck his head from the cameras. "Better than fine, actually." "Ms. Taylor?" My receptionist's voice came through the intercom. "There are reporters in the lobby asking for you." "Don't let them up," Regina instructed, then turned to me. "You should go home. This is going to get crazy." She was right. By the time I made it to my car, reporters were swarming the parking lot. Their questions followed me as I drove away. "Did you know about his other family? What happened to the stolen money? How long have you been planning this exposé?" I drove straight to Clara's sister's house, where Clara was pacing the living room, phone in hand. "The press found my classroom. The principal had to cancel my classes." "How's Wyatt?" "Upstairs, playing video games, trying to pretend this isn't happening." Clara ran her hands through her hair. "Joseph's lawyer called. He wants to talk." "Don't," I warned. "Not without your own lawyer present." "Taylor," Wyatt's voice came from the stairs. "You're on TV. We rushed to the living room where a news anchor was showing my photo alongside Joseph's arrest footage. Sources say Joseph's first wife, Taylor, a prominent grief counselor, worked with his second wife, Clara, to expose his fraudulent activities. Clara muted the TV as her phone rang again. Joseph's number. Should I answer it? Put it on speaker, I said. Joseph's voice filled the room, desperate and angry. Clara, listen to me. This is all a misunderstanding. Taylor's twisted everything. Like you twisted the truth about having another family? Clara's voice was ice. About stealing millions? About missing your son's cancer treatments to attend my son's soccer games? I can explain everything. No, I cut in. You can't explain why you checked your phone during Tommy's eulogy. You can't explain why you wanted to clear out his room a week after he died. Taylor? His voice changed, becoming harder. You did this. You turned Clara against me. You ruined everything. You ruined everything, Wyatt said suddenly, moving closer to the phone. You lied to everyone. You hurt Tommy. You hurt both my moms. The line went silent for a moment. When Joseph spoke again, his voice shook. Wyatt, son, please. Don't call me son, Wyatt said firmly. Taylor's more of a parent than you ever were. At least she shows up when she says she will. Clara ended the call, pulling Wyatt into a hug as he finally let his tears fall. My phone buzzed. Connor. The SEC just froze all his accounts. The evidence is overwhelming. He's looking at 15 to 20 years, minimum. Another call came in. Gwendolyn. You need to see this. His business partners in Asia are coming forward. There are more shell companies, more fraud. This goes deeper than we thought. The news kept rolling in throughout the day. Joseph's empire crumbled hour by hour. Former employees spoke out about suspicious practices. Business partners distanced themselves. His reputation, built on lies, dissolved like smoke. That evening, as Clara prepared dinner and Wyatt taught me his favorite video game, my phone lit up with a text from Joseph. You've destroyed everything I built. I hope you're happy. I showed it to Clara, who read it and laughed bitterly. He still doesn't get it, does he? He destroyed everything himself. We just exposed the truth. Taylor? Wyatt asked, pausing our game. Are you staying for dinner? I looked at Clara, who smiled and nodded. Of course she is. She's family now. Family. The word hit me hard. In trying to tear down Joseph's perfect fake life, I'd somehow built something real, something honest. My phone buzzed one last time. Regina. Just saw the latest news. Joseph's facing additional charges for tax evasion. They're saying he might never get out of prison. Are you okay? I looked at Wyatt, showing me his game moves, and Clara humming as she cooked dinner. Then I thought of Tommy's empty room at home, still waiting to be cleared out, but not yet. Not until I was ready. I'm okay, I texted back. Better than okay. I'm healing. And for the first time since Tommy's death, it wasn't a lie. 6 months after Joseph's arrest, I stood in the courthouse corridor with Clara and Wyatt, waiting for the sentencing hearing to begin. Joseph had pleaded guilty to multiple charges of fraud, embezzlement, and money laundering in exchange for a reduced sentence. You don't have to do this, Clara said, straightening Wyatt's tie. Neither of you do. Yes, we do, Wyatt replied, sounding older than his 10 years. I want him to see us. Regina approached, holding a stack of papers. They're ready for us. Taylor, are you sure about making a victim impact statement? I nodded, clutching the folded pages in my hand. I'd rewritten my statement dozens of times, trying to capture the magnitude of Joseph's betrayal in words. The courtroom fell silent as we entered. Joseph sat at the defendant's table in an orange jumpsuit, a far cry from his designer suits. He turned as we walked in, his eyes widening at the sight of Wyatt. All rise, the bailiff called. The proceedings moved quickly. Prosecutors detailed the extent of Joseph's crimes. Over $12 million stolen, 2 families deceived, countless lives affected. His lawyer spoke of remorse, of mental health issues, of the pressure to maintain 2 perfect lives. Then it was my turn. Your Honor, I began, my voice steady. 6 months ago, I buried my 8-year-old son. While he was dying, his father was living another life, playing soccer dad to another little boy. Tommy spent his last Christmas in the hospital. Joseph told me he was at a business conference. He was actually decorating a Christmas tree with his other family. I looked directly at Joseph. But this isn't just about Tommy. This is about every lie, every moment stolen from both families. While Clara attended parent-teacher conferences alone, believing her husband was working late, he was having dinner with me. While I sat through chemotherapy appointments alone, he was cheering at Wyatt's soccer games. Joseph wouldn't meet my eyes. Good. The money he stole doesn't matter to me. What matters is the time he stole. Time Tommy could have had with his father, time Clara could have spent building an honest life, time Wyatt could have had with a dad who wasn't living a lie. Clara spoke next, her voice trembling but determined. For 10 years, I believed I had the perfect marriage. Now I know it was built on fraud. My son's college fund was stolen money. Our house was bought with embezzled funds. Every memory is tainted. Then, unexpectedly, Wyatt stood up. "Your Honor," he asked, "can I say something?" The judge leaned forward, considering, then nodded. "My dad missed my last 3 soccer games before he got arrested," Wyatt said clearly. I was sad about it, but now I know he missed them because he was supposed to be with Tommy, who was really sick. He chose not to be there for either of us. Joseph finally broke, calling out, "Wyatt, please." "Mr. McDonald," the judge warned, "you'll have your chance to speak." When Joseph's turn came, he stood slowly. "Your Honor, I never meant to hurt anyone. I loved both my families. I couldn't choose. I couldn't let go." "So instead you let my son die alone," I interrupted, earning a sharp look from the judge. 25 years, the judge announced after deliberation, with no possibility of parole for 18 years. Additionally, all assets will be seized and redistributed to the victims. As the gavel fell, Joseph called out again, "Taylor, Clara, please just let me explain." But we were already walking out, Wyatt between us, heading toward a future that didn't include Joseph's lies. Outside the courthouse, reporters waited with cameras and questions. But before we could navigate through them, Wyatt tugged on my sleeve. "Can we go to Tommy's grave?" he asked quietly. "I made something for him in art class." Clara squeezed my hand. "We can take my car." At the cemetery, Wyatt placed a carefully crafted clay dinosaur beside Tommy's headstone. I made it green because Taylor said that was his favorite color. "It's perfect," I whispered, watching as Wyatt traced Tommy's name with his finger. "Mom," he asked Clara, "can we put up a swing set in our new backyard? Taylor said Tommy really liked swings." Clara smiled through her tears. "Of course we can. And Taylor can help us build it," Wyatt continued, "since she's going to be living next door and everything." The decision to buy the house next to Clara's had been impulsive, but right. The money from Joseph's seized assets had made it possible, a small justice in the grand scheme of things. My phone buzzed. "Regina. Just heard from the prosecutors. They found 2 more offshore accounts. There's going to be another trial." But watching Wyatt arrange his dinosaur just so, while Clara took pictures and the autumn leaves fell around us, I realized I didn't care about more trials or hidden money. "Tell them to handle it," I texted back. "I'm done looking backward." "Ready to go home?" Clara asked, putting her arm around Wyatt. Home. Not to an empty house full of memories and lies, but to a street where Wyatt would ride his bike between our houses, where Clara and I would share coffee on weekend mornings, where healing could finally begin. "Yeah," I said, taking one last look at Tommy's grave. "We're ready." The moving truck pulled away from my Seattle house for the last time. Regina helped me pack the last box into my car while Alina carried Tommy's dinosaur collection, carefully wrapped in bubble paper. "You're sure about this?" Alina asked, not for the first time. A familiar SUV pulled into the driveway. Clara and Wyatt, right on schedule. Wyatt bounded out, wearing his dinosaur backpack. "Is that all of them? Can I see?" "Let's wait until we get to the new house," I said, ruffling his hair. "These guys need to be unpacked carefully." "I still can't believe you're moving to Portland," Regina said, hugging me tight. "Who's going to help me terrorize cheating husbands now?" "I heard that," Clara called out, laughing. "And technically, she's moving to Lake Oswego, right next door to a very nosy neighbor who makes excellent coffee." The drive to Portland felt different this time. No surveillance, no secret missions, no burning rage. Just the open road and possibility ahead. Wyatt rode with me, chattering about his plans for Tommy's dinosaurs. "We can make a special shelf in the game room," he explained. "That way when I come over to play video games, it'll be like Tommy's playing too." My throat tightened. That's perfect. At the new house, Clara had already set up a welcome party. Regina and Alina helped unpack while Wyatt supervised the dinosaur placement with scientific precision. Mail came, Clara said, handing me an envelope. From the prison. Joseph's handwriting. I'd received several letters since the sentencing, all returned unopened. This one felt different. You should read it, Clara said softly. We both should. Inside was a single page. Taylor and Clara, I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I need you to know I'm getting help here. Real help. The psychiatrist says I have narcissistic personality disorder. It doesn't excuse what I did, but maybe it explains some of it. I think about Tommy every day. About how I failed him when he needed me most. About how I failed both of you and Wyatt. The therapist asked me to write down my biggest regret. It's not the fraud or the lies. It's missing Tommy's last Christmas for a fake business trip. It's checking my phone at his funeral because I was too scared to feel the pain. I've signed papers giving up all parental rights to Wyatt. Clara, you can proceed with the adoption process for Taylor. It's the least I can do for my son. Give him a parent who shows up, who puts him first, who knows how to love without lying. Don't write back. Just know I'm sorry. Know I'll spend every day in here trying to understand why I destroyed the best things in my life. Joseph. Clara wiped her eyes. The adoption papers came yesterday. Mom, Taylor, Wyatt called from upstairs. Come see, we finished the dinosaur shelf. We found him in the game room, standing proudly before a perfectly arranged display. Tommy's T-Rex held center position, surrounded by the rest of the collection. Below it, Wyatt had placed the clay dinosaur he'd made for Tommy's grave. See, he pointed. I left space for new ones, too. Because families grow, right? That's what you said, Mom. Clara pulled him close. That's right, honey. The doorbell rang. More visitors. Gwendolyn arrived with housewarming wine, followed by Connor with pizza. Soon the house was full of laughter and conversation. Speech, Regina called out, raising her glass. The hostess has to make a speech. I looked around the room. At Regina, who'd helped me uncover the truth. At Gwendolyn, who'd brought it to light. At Alina, who'd supported me through the darkness. At Clara, who'd turned from victim to sister. At Wyatt, who'd shown me love could grow even from lies. When Tommy died, I began, I thought that was the end of my story as a mother. Then I discovered Joseph's lies, and I thought revenge would write the next chapter. But standing here now, I gestured to the dinosaur shelf, where Tommy's collection watched over us all. This isn't about revenge anymore. It's about healing, about building something true from something false, about choosing family instead of fury. To family, Wyatt shouted, raising his soda can. To family, everyone echoed. Later, after the guests left and Wyatt fell asleep playing video games, Claire and I sat on the back porch of our adjacent houses, sharing the last of Gwendolyn's wine. What do we do with his letter? Clara asked. I thought about Joseph in his cell, finally facing his demons. About Tommy, who'd loved dinosaurs and never got to share them with his brother. About Wyatt, who'd turned loss into love with a child's simple wisdom. We let it go, I said. We've got better stories to write now. Inside, Wyatt stirred. Mom, Taylor, can we have pancakes tomorrow? Clara smiled. With dinosaur shapes? Obviously, he called back. I looked at the two houses, connected by more than just proximity. At the dinosaur shelf visible through the game room window. At the future we were building, one pancake breakfast at a time. Obviously, I echoed, and felt Tommy's memory smile,